story opened with a loud explosion and aircrafts flying towards the battlefield. Monsters wreak havoc in the city. It was a strange dream. There was a beast so huge that it blocked out the sun and darkened the sky, yet it felt like a kindred spirit. A person feels that he's the same being with it. He knew that the beast was him and he was the beast. So from then on, despite the chaos, he decided that the world will honor him as if he were a god. He sat on the edge of a roof and looked down on people kneeling towards him. But behind him is a gigantic monster, similar to a dragon. The scene transitioned to a news report on TV. The TV anchor reported on the evening news that on June 2nd, 2224, the zoo of Ning City was attacked by a snake more than 100 meters long. Experts have not been able to determine the species of the snake. Then she reported that several citizens were able to film the appearance of a giant whale-like beast in the sky north of the city, which caused quite a stir. Then there's a report that internationally wanted criminals have been loose on the Ning City. This report plays on a TV inside a dirty room where there's uneaten food, garbage everywhere, a bloodied man plopped on the desk. He didn't look poor based on where he was. Also, he had weird displays of different animals in a cage. Something stared at the face of the man plopped on the desk, and he realized that it was his body. But when he saw the mirror, he's like a lizard. He panicked when he realized that he just turned into a sea iguana. This person is named Chen Chu. He is a sophomore at the University of Ning. He has been renting a place outside of school since he doesn't like living in the dorms. This guy will also be our main protagonist. He likes cold-blooded animals. He is fascinated by their vibrant colors. The pet store just got new batches of exotic pets that day, and he was immediately drawn to the sea iguana. It was an amphibious creature. Sea iguanas are generally gentle, but an accident happened the moment it was let loose. It bit him. He raised his other hand, which was holding a phone, and hit it in the head. As the sea iguana fell down, it smacked him on the cheeks using its tail. Then, in the present moment, he slowly woke up and saw the sea iguana staring at him. The sea iguana raised its hand, because Chu was raising his hand too. He realized that he can control the body of the lizard. It was like he's controlling his own arms. It was similar to the so-called gold finger, a popular cheating software in a video game. He got excited thinking that it's time for his hero's journey to begin. The iguana rolled over. Chu wondered what this iguana could even do. He thought of going on live stream to show off how smart his lizard is or selling freshly dug up abalone or sea cucumbers. That's when he realized he's not meant to be the hero, because usually, when other people get cheats, they are either the powerful villain ordained by fate, or they become a tree that grows onto the god of the universe. And as for him, he's just stuck with a little lizard. Their stomachs growled. When he checked the windows, it was already nighttime. He's so hungry. He realized that he passed out for an entire day. He wondered what sea iguana eats. Since it was a lizard, he assumed that it would be fine with meat. He took out the steak and got into cooking. He showed off his skills, and it got the iguana drooling. The iguana happily ate. Chu was glad about his assumption that both sea iguanas and lizards can both eat meat. Out of the blue, a screen appeared in front of him and displayed that after eating, his clone received 5 evolution points and his constitution has increased by 0.5. Then it showed his status. He's at level 0 with 8.5 constitution, 12 spirit, and a mind control talent. He has beginner traits with both 0 EXP at the moment, and those are external aura and key perception. His skills are extremities, boxing at beginner level with EXP of 48 out of 100, stepping cloud jump at beginner level with EXP of 66 out of 100, and springing leg at beginner level with EXP of 39 hundredths. He has a clone, which is the sea iguana. It had 0 evolution with 5 out of 20 evolution points. He was surprised to see his actual cheat. He stared at his hand, and that made him remember something. He remembered his childhood when he's practicing martial arts. He was told that if he only practiced his form without understanding the foundation, he might as well have learned nothing. He was told that the root of force is at his feet, and it should start from his thighs, then he has to control his abdomen, and that he should take the form through the bones in his fingers. He told his dad that he is so tired. He requested a break after standing on piles. His dad refused and told him that it's cowardly to give up halfway. He yelled that he didn't want to be a coward. Then his dad made him run fast. He tripped and fell. He looked so exhausted, but his dad told him to get up and told him that no one will help him when he grows up. Eventually, he received a box. His father gave him all of their savings because he needed to take a very long trip so Chu would be alone on his own. He was reminded not to neglect practicing martial arts, and when he's strong enough, he'll be able to see the other side of the world. Then, little Chu cried and asked how he's going to find him again. His dad replied that it will happen when he becomes a grandmaster, but he knew he might not be there anymore by then. His dad made his way. He reached the door and left. This dude went out and bought some milk, if you know what I mean. Before Chu knew it, a decade had passed. The sea iguana burped. It looked satisfied. He noticed that it ate fast, but he noticed something. It looked like it grew longer. He checked its stats and saw that it gained 15 points after that meal. Then something caught his attention. He was shocked when he saw the mirror. His body became toned, and it has abs. His body wasn't like that before. He realized that the points that the iguana received reflects on him. He started thinking that it could evolve soon after getting more points. He even imagined it growing into the behemoth of his dream. If that happens, he'd also become a real martial arts grandmaster. At the marketplace, Chu bought 10 pounds of prime beef with no bones and 20 pounds of pork lean meat without bones. The shopkeeper had packed everything and asked him how he wanted to pay. He replied that it would be via QR code. He loaded up his car and closed the trunk. After that, he went back to his apartment, a few hours later. He readied the table. Then he served a scrumptious meal. He fed the sea iguana for him to become a martial arts grandmaster. The iguana drooled. It happily ate. He realized that in a lizard's palate, pork doesn't taste as good as beef. Also, the beef dish that he served could use a bit more cumin, so he took a mental note to add more next time. After that, the iguana slept soundly, while Chu went to the martial arts room. He concentrated, as he hit the bag powerfully. Then the system displayed that after his hard work, his extremities boxing experience increased by +5. With his constitution improved, he could tell that even training progress is faster than before, and 2 days later. He's at the training room again. He was all sweaty and breathing heavily, but he liked the feeling of getting stronger just by working hard at training. He got into position to kick. It was so powerful that it broke the bag in half. He checked his status again. His extremities boxing is now intermediate level. From the perspective of traditional martial arts, he would have reached the peak of the Ming realm already. When he was a kid, his father taught him the different realms of martial arts. It was divided into Ming, Dark, and Transformation. The peak of the Ming realm could make him a top-notch fighter, capable of taking on 10 opponents alone. The Dark realm makes him a first-rate expert, able to fight 100 at once. Usually, it is hidden within legendary families. Then, the Transformation realm allows him to take on 1,000. They are the grandmasters recorded in history in modern times. It represents an unbreakable body only described in ancient texts. He asked his dad which realm he's in. His dad replied that he briefly reached the Dark realm. He had a sullen expression when he remembered what happened after that. But before he could finish his sentence, Chu exclaimed that he's amazing. It made Chu ask if he's one of those legendary families too. That question caught him off guard. He sighed. Then he replied that he's just from Luotan, at around dusk. Chu went back to the sala and was surprised to see how much his iguana had grown. One more meal and they would be ready to evolve. He prayed that he wouldn't be disappointed. As the iguana eats, the evolution points rise. It reached 198 out of 200, so it was almost ready to evolve. He couldn't wait to see how the little guy changes. It chewed continuously, until it reached 200 out of 200 evolution points. The system notified that it had met the evolution requirements. The evolution started. Its arm had a stinging pain. Of course, our boy felt it too. Then its back hurts because the spikes formed. It was in excruciating pain. It moved around the house and wreaked havoc. When it was done, Chu was just left laying on the floor. He didn't expect that evolution would hurt that much. He heard a sound. He got up and went to the room where the iguana was. Chu got curious on how strong he is after evolving. In just a smack from its tail, the punching bag exploded. He could tell that it now has extraordinary power. He checked his stats. He's still at level 0, but his constitution used to be 28 and it increased to 56. From 16, the spirit increased to 18. Both of his traits' EXP increased from 10 to 20. His skills such as extremities boxing is at intermediate level with 48 out of 100 EXP. While his steeping cloud jump is at beginner level with 66 EXP and springing leg at 3900ths. The sea iguana had 1 evolution with 0,000ths evolution points. He didn't expect that when a clone evolves, the main body physique and attributes would directly double in growth. He's uncertain if it increased because his current strength is too weak, or if every time the clone evolves, his body's constitution doubles. If it's the former, then his strength will improve at a decent pace early on. But if it's the latter, it would be kind of terrifying. He could tell that with traditional martial arts standards, he just entered the Dark realm. When he activates his traits, it allows him to unleash external energy. He looked so happy when he realized that he's now officially a martial arts expert. But with training, 100 skill experience points a day is his limit. And since the improvements are mirrored, to further enhance his body, he had to rely on the sea iguana. To his surprise, even the iguana can release his external energy. It looked fierce. Suddenly, there was a loud knock on his door. Someone kept banging his door. On the other side of it is an annoyed muscular man. Chu opened the door. He was still emitting the energy by then. He asked the man what was up. The man was surprised. He found him terrifying. To him, the kid gave a vibe that he could crush him in seconds. His body trembled. From being annoyed, he became polite and asked if the kid's place was under renovation. Chu admitted that he was training lately and didn't realize that it was that loud. The man couldn't believe it. He questioned who was training because no training could feel like an earthquake. He tried to peek inside. He saw that the place was trashed. It made his jaw drop. He backed off and told the kid that it was fine. He requested that he changes his training methods to something quieter, though. Chu replied that it was not a problem and promised that he would adjust his training methods. The man thanked him and hurried to the elevator. The iguana took a peek and watched him leave. He went inside the house. He realized that it was too large now and isn't suitable to be kept indoors. He knew it was about time to release the sea iguana clone into the sea. He drove to the sea. He was ready. He let it out and let it swim while he waited. This little creature was really excited, as if he was meant to be in this habitat. It dove at once. He activated energy sense. And with the current energy sense, he can cover a radius of 10 meters around him. He could sense the animals. And boy, oh boy, these fishes looked funky. He was surprised when he saw a fish that had 5 eyes. He made it his target. He turned to its direction and swam really fast. The fish noticed the sea iguana. They rested underneath the waters. Eventually, bubbles filled the area as the iguana ate it. When it was done, it saw another target. It swam to it, and the oblivious fish got eaten instantly. After eating the mutated fish, the clone got 10 evolution points and Chu gained +1 physique. After evolving, eating normal food only provides 1 evolution point per meal, but mutated fish can actually give 10 points. With these mutated creatures appearing in the ocean and the recent news, he knew the world is far from peaceful. The sea iguana hunted again. This time, it's a larger fish with a long, slender tail. Eventually, the system notified him that his clone already reached the daily cap of 100 evolution points. He cannot gain any more that day. To human eyes, the ocean at night is cold and pitch black. But through the sea iguana clone's eyes, the underwater world is colorful and vibrant. As an amphibian, the sea iguana can stay underwater for a long time, but since it doesn't have gills, it still relies on its lungs to breathe. It needed to surface for air every now and then. He saw a crease and slid into it. The spot looks good, so he decided for the sea iguana rest there. Now that the clone is settled, it was time for him to head back. He drove under the night sky, but he was surprised to see a house and a van. He didn't expect that someone would be living there, and right on cue, someone screamed for help. Our MC stopped the car and waited. He knew to act at the right time. The thugs inside peeked to see if the car had left. They saw that it was gone. There's 3 men and the kidnapped woman inside. The bald man kicked the man holding the woman's mouth and scolded him for not watching her carefully. It's because the man didn't notice that the cloth gag fell out of her mouth. The man reasoned to his boss that it was so dark so he couldn't have seen it when they dragged her inside. The woman was so terrified. The bald man told her to shut up and behave, otherwise the guys would have fun with her that night. Chu walked towards the shed. He activated his energy sense. With it, he could tell what was inside the shed. The thugs had drinks. The woman shivered, while the other skinny man was on his phone. Chu tried to guess if it was kidnapping or human trafficking. He learned that out of 3 men, 2 of them had knives. He knows that it's best to deal with them within a minute. It is to avoid endangering the hostage. He blasted the door open. The 2 guys took out their knives. Chu immediately went for them. He kicked the first guy. The man screamed in pain when his back collided on the brick wall. The bald man cursed at him and attacked him from behind, but Chu immediately reacted and hit him on the torso. The bald man lost his balance. The skinny guy caught him before he crashed on the ground, then told him to take a breather. The skinny guy positioned himself to attack while introducing himself as a disciple of Yue Wang Fist, Ning Fu. Chu replied, said his name, and added, Luotan, 8 extremities boxing. Still at the abandoned house in the countryside. Ning Fu made the fist move, one called Tulu Fist, but Chu grabbed his arm and was about to throw a punch. But the man kicked his foot and did the move 2 called 2 horses joined Tang. Then he landed a punch on Chu's head. Chu realized that he's an expert. He found his footing, which actually surprised the man. Then he counterattacked using 8 extremities boxing move called Iron Mountain Slam. The man crashed on the floor. He was amused that it's getting interesting. He said that he didn't expect that after he came down the mountain, he could meet a real disciple of Luotan, 8 extremities. Iron Mountain Slam is an ultimate move of 8 extremities and deserves its reputation. Chu replied that it's a shame. He asked what he meant. Chu stated that he didn't expect a thug to be halfway decent with Yue Wang Fist. He thinks that it's a shame that he's a disciple of Yue Wang Fist has gone on a crooked path. The guy smirked and asked him why he's being so high and mighty when he's just a student who doesn't know any better. He understood something when he left the mountain. That if he wants to get ahead, he has to do whatever it takes. He tried to poke Chu's eyes. Chu instinctively kicked him. He landed face down on the floor. Chu realized that the battle between martial artists could truly be dangerous. The pressure he felt from him is way more dangerous than dozens of strong muscle men. He felt bad that his control over his strength is still inadequate. But things didn't go well for those three. He realized that he had to practice mastering control over his strength. His thoughts were interrupted when the woman made a muffled noise. Our boy set her free. He comforted her while she thanked him. He told her to wipe her tears and instructed her to call the police after he leaves. But he needed some help from her. He requested that if the police ask about him, she should tell them that she wasn't able to take a good look at him and she doesn't know who he is. She promised that she won't tell. 10 minutes later, the police arrived, but they were surprised when they entered the shed. They saw the woman on her feet while those three were on the ground. After that, a security agency police named Guan Qing delivered to the deputy chief the information he asked for. Inside the office of the deputy chief officer, she reported that they were able to see clear footprints on the broken door. And based on the depth and way the door broke off, someone had kicked the door open from the front, causing the door to fly 3 meters away, and the force used was at least 1,000 kilograms. Among the kidnappers, 2 of them instantly died, and the one left has entered a vegetative state after suffering a major concussion. According to the kidnapped woman named Lin Rongya, the person was wearing a mask at night and she couldn't tell what they looked like. The deputy chief of the security agency wondered how it could have happened when the most force the king of boxing was able to exert was 800 kilograms on a machine. In boxing in real life, it was unheard of for that amount of force to be reached. She agreed that the guy's strength is in humans, but she pointed out how stranger things have been happening lately. Suddenly, lightning struck. They could tell that a storm is coming. Meanwhile, there's a car hidden near the sea, and inside it, Chu watches a boat on the shore. 3 men get off it. The one at the center is someone they called Boss, and they were pleased to have made some money, and yet he spent 1 million on a woman from Bald Tiger. They think it's wasteful. The other man agreed and stated that it took them so long to dig up a sunken ship, and they only made a little more than 2 million. The boss called them short-sighted when they didn't even know who the woman was. He claimed that money will not be an issue if they have her. That made them happy. He asked the man nicknamed 4 Eyes if he had finished the business with the company. The man assured him that he already arranged a shipping company. They rented a high-end office building for the offices according to his request. In addition to that, he also found prettiest girls for the secretary and front desk positions. He's certain that the boss will not be disappointed. The boss replied that, with the underwater breathing ability that he had awakened, as long as they find the position of a sunken ship, they can get all the treasures on shore, and then they will have as much money as they want. He told the guys to follow him closely, and he will not let them starve. They heard a rustling sound. The boss immediately asked who's there. Chu came out and stated that he had seen a lot of perverts, but they are a special one. The boss took out his knife. Then he attacked while telling Chu that he had a lot of nerves, but people like him don't live long. Chu raised his leg and made the ground shatter, causing the man to lose his balance. Then he followed up with a punch. Then he kicked the man towards a tree. The lackeys couldn't believe it. Their boss had become way stronger and faster after he got superpower. He could even 1 Fua 5 easily. 4 Eyes suggested that they run, but before they could move, they were already hit on their backs. The boss asked Chu what he was doing. Chu replied that he should look at him. Chu planned to test the power of his mind control. He asked the boss what his name was and what he did. The man got hypnotized. He replied that he's Zhang Changshu and he owns a ship. He smuggles for a living, and a month ago, he got the power to breathe underwater. Chu could tell his mind control is very effective. The man is basically his puppet. The man shared that he raids the sunken ships in the depth and exchanges any treasure he gets to rich folks. The mind control has been cancelled. The man felt immense pain on his hand. He asked Chu what happened to his hand. Chu replied that the man accidentally broke it. Changshu called Chu boss and accepted his reason. Chu realized that the mind control also affected his judgment. Chu suggested that he rest on the boat first. He will follow after he wakes up those 2. Changshu was obedient. Chu needed a lot of food to raise his lizard, and since Changshu has a ship and often works with rich people, he knew he could get money through his company to raise his lizard. Chu was impressed with the effect of the mind control. There's some resistance when he tries to control Changshu, but it's very easy when it comes to the other 2 men. It made him think that mind control is extra effective towards weak-minded people. They boarded the boat. A professional-looking guy asked Changshu who Chu is. Changshu replied that he should be respectful because he is his boss. The man politely greeted Chu. Changshu ordered him to prepare the contract for transferring the ship to his boss. They gave him the contract. He ordered the man to wait for him at the office tomorrow, while he told Changshu to follow him to the hospital since he is injured. The next day, the sea iguana was full again. Chu was pleased with how the sea is a heaven of limitless food. In the gym, as he trains, his evolution points increase by +5 and his constitution by 0.5. He can't rely solely on his iguana clone to increase his power. That's why he trains a lot too. After 2 battles, he feels that his control over his strength has improved. In the mountain cave, The system notified that the absorbed energy has been digested during training. Evolution points increased to +6. The next day, the transfer process was done. Chu didn't go outside for a day, and he was able to get more than 90 evolution points. His body also had grown by 20 centimeters. He planned to make the lizard journey to the deep sea tomorrow. He also learned that he's not the only one in the world who has superpowers. He had to become stronger, especially now that there are unknown creatures in the depths of the ocean. One of the lackeys noticed that there has been less fish lately, and they almost captured nothing. Four Eyes replied that it could be that sharks ate them. Sharks move in groups, and even killer whales had to be wary of them. Deep in the ocean, sharks were doing just that. The sea iguana saw it. The shark attempted to eat it. It bit the sea iguana, but it was defenseless against it. Eventually, the shark became food for the sea iguana. With it, the sea iguana gained +10 evolution points. Chu could tell how tender the meat was. Then, the system informed Chu that the clone met the evolution requirement. He was asked if he wants to evolve. He realized that he had that option now. So, he confirmed. The iguana was in pain. Again. At the same time in the gym, Chu felt that pain too. When it was done, he checked his stats. He is now at level 1 with 130 constitution and 38 spirit. He had his mind control talent. His traits are both 280 out of 100. His 8 extremities boxing at intermediate level has 370 out of 1000 EXP. The stepping cloud jump is also an intermediate level with 290 out of 1000 EXP. And lastly, the tan leg technique at intermediate level with 390 out of 1000 EXP. His clone is a scale-armored spiny lizard, a newborn ferocious beast that is trying to evolve into a ferocious beast lord. It has evolved 2 times, currently has 0 out of 5000 evolution points, and has water affinity. Though looking haggard, he was still happy with his new stats. He reached a level equivalent to a great success in the Dark Realm in traditional martial arts. He also noticed that his constitution didn't double even after evolution, but he knew it made sense, and the only reason why it doubled last time was because his base stat was low. Then he wondered what it meant to have water affinity. When he saw the iguana, he was shaken by how large it had become. The bone density is a few times more than before, and the weight has reached 4 to 5 tons. The power has doubled, and the claws are akin to steel. It was much more explosive than before, too. He could swim up to 70 kilometers per hour, too. It's even faster than a large ship. He also makes less noise and also feels less resistance while swimming. He assumed it was because of the water affinity thing. After that, he answered a call. He asked if anyone was asking for treasures lately. His subordinate replied no. He asked how the research was going. It was reported to him that they found a few locations with sunken ships, but without Chengshou who can breathe underwater, they couldn't do anything. He replied that there's nothing to worry about. Chu knew that the shallow area of routes used by Z country in the past and the major commercial waterways used by H country and R country have mostly been explored, but he knew that there were still a lot of priceless ships deep in the area. So he made the iguana go to the southeast 25 kilometers offshore, the Yellow Sea area. He realized he can still breathe deep in water after that evolution. His perception also went up. He could feel the area up to 20 kilometers around him. After he tidies up everything, he'll be ready to go to the ships. He was done with work and decided to enjoy life from the point of raising a clone. He noticed the time and decided it was time to get food for himself. Meanwhile, on the street, there's a beautiful blonde woman sleeping against a pole, at the pedestrian street. Chu took himself out for a fancy meal. It was nice, but just one meal cost over 3,000. His savings are only 20,000, but he's confident to spend since he'll take over Boss Zhang's company. And at least, he got a taste of what it feels like to be rich. He noticed something on the street. 2 men surrounded a passed-out woman. Our boy called them out. Chu realized that with his growing strength, his passion for martial arts is also awakening. As long as there's no real danger, he doesn't mind stepping in. Those guys got annoyed at him. One of them took out a knife and told him to get lost, and they'll pretend they didn't see him. Chu released his aura. It was like he was engulfed by flame. Our boy was just aura farming at this point. Those men could feel like they are being stared down by a beast. It made them want to leave. The woman laughed at them and teased them for not being scared. Chu wondered if the woman was crazy. It's rare to encounter that kind of woman. And those thugs wouldn't let her think that they're weak. They figure out there's no reason to be afraid of Chu since he's alone. They decided to take him down since he's way too cocky. They charged towards him. Chu jumped up high and kicked them. Those 2 were thrown in the air. He barely used 10% of his strength. Otherwise, that kick could have reduced him to mush. He decided to let them go this time. They might have done wrong, but he deemed that it's not enough to deserve death. Those 2 scurried away. One guy had to piggyback the other, while they described Chu as a demon who was straight out of hell. The woman staggered while she called Chu strong. He finds her movement strange, so it made him wonder if she's on drugs. He immediately called the police and reported the drunk woman outside the Shengtang bar. He told them that she looks compromised. She suggested that he take her home instead. A few minutes later, the cops had arrived. She told him that he's no fun. Chu ignored her and reported to the officer what he saw. Eventually, it had been dealt with. Good thing this MC isn't a simp. His next agenda is to control the giant lizard and look for that sunken ship. He arrived at the location and realized that 4 eyes were right. The info outline checks out. There was a sunken ship in there. During that time, his energy sense can only reach about 20 meters. He knew he had to keep improving it. He searched the ship and found the jackpot, solid gold bars. He gave instruction to 4 eyes to steer the ship 3 kilometers east and drop a crate. 4 eyes asked Black Ghost if there's anyone else besides Changsho who can breathe underwater. Black Ghost told him to stop asking questions and prying into their boss's secrets. The sea iguana loaded up the crate with the gold bars. Then the crate was slowly lifted. While that was happening, he noticed a piece of metal. Black Ghost reported to him that they got the crate on board and they're heading back now. The sea iguana continued to claw the piece of metal, but it was so tough and it rarely left a mark on it. Chu thought that it must be some kind of special alloy. Since it looks valuable, he decided to take it back for study. Out of the blue, a white, long creature appeared, and it ate him. The creature tried to ambush him, but he wasn't scared. Even if it's longer and bigger than him, he has confidence when it comes to his offense and defense. He knew that creature wasn't a match for him. A few minutes later, we see some fish bones floating. Turns out, the iguana won and gobbled it up easily, and commented that the sashimi was pretty good. A few hours later, Chu propped himself against a boulder. The reefs in the area have been eroded by seawater for years, making them incredibly hard. The deserted beach at night is at the perfect spot to test his strength. Even if force works both ways, his bone density is nearly 20 times that of an average human, plus his external shield absorbs most of the impact, so it will only result in his hand feeling a bit sore. And that kind of soreness can easily be gone with his body's recovery ability. It's because the evolution of his physique has surpassed 200. He hasn't tested it yet, but his punches would weigh at least 3,000 pounds. That is equivalent to 1.5 tons. With his outer energy boost and 8 extremities boxing technique, he could punch straight through a person with ease. Chu punched the boulder with all his might. That training left him tired and sweaty. He laid on the ground to rest. He thought of how his punching bag at home isn't durable enough, and he can't train at the park either. With modern technology, if someone recorded and uploaded his video online, he knew it would be a problem. He's certain that if people found out that he's extraordinary, it would only bring trouble. Only on that beach could he train freely, and he felt great. He noticed his insane recovery ability, too. He stopped for less than a minute and the scrapes of his hands were already healed. The sea iguana arrived and brought him the metal. The irregular black ore shines with a metallic luster, but it doesn't seem particularly special at first glance. Surprisingly, he couldn't lift it. He estimated it to weigh close to 200 pounds. The metal was heavy, extremely tough. Even the giant lizard claws struggled to scratch it. It would be perfect for crafting a weapon. But with his current skills, making a suitable weapon would be difficult. He decided to deal with those gold bars first. Chu boarded the ship and asked them where the stuff was. They informed him that it's all on the ship and everything has been cleared up. He checked the gold bars in the captain's cabin. Black Ghost peeked and asked him how much money it was worth. He exclaimed that he had never seen so many gold bars in his life. Chu replied that it doesn't have any markings, which means that it was privately mined. With that said, they couldn't sell them as antiques. He then went to the bustling downtown. He entered a shop to inquire if they could buy gold there. The saleslady replied that they do so. She asked if it was a ring or a necklace that he's talking about. He showed her the gold bars in his backpack. The lady got overwhelmed with the quantity. She invited him to go upstairs and meet their manager. The manager introduced himself and shook his hand. He asked for Chu's name and the quantity of gold that he's selling. He showed him the backpack full of gold. The manager informed him that he needs his team to check the quality of gold first, so he had him wait. While the gold was being inspected, Chu rested on the couch and took out his phone. After a while, the manager informed him that the gold bars weighed a total of 11,250 grams, and since they're not very pure and privately made, they offered him 400 wen per gram. Chu replied that it was fine. He received a notification that his account has been credited 4,500,000 wen. He thought about how people his age are still hustling through college, while he can make millions with just one adventure. It felt surreal. His face soured while he was driving. He decided to get a car first because what he has had a low chassis and it's terrible on the bumpy coastal roads. He went to a luxury auto showroom. He checked out a white car. When suddenly, a couple entered the showroom. This couple caught our MC's attention. It was his ex. Back then, he spent a fortune trying to win her over, but she chased after wealth and status, living it up with rich boys. The woman saw him and told her boyfriend that the guy was the loser who chased her. The man asked Chu what a broke college kid like him is doing in a luxury car showroom. Black Ghost was offended, but Chu told him not to mind the guy. The man asked if they were not allowed to say the truth. He pointed out that Chu is just a broke college student, and that place isn't something he can afford. The woman suggested that they stop wasting time at him and go look at the cars instead. She picked a red sports car. He checked it for her. The guy knew that money would impress a woman, and in reality, he only got a few tens of thousands a month for spending. Basically, there's no way he could actually buy her a luxury car. Going back to Chu, he chose a car that has a high chassis and has enough room to carry his stuff. The sales associate asked him if he's going to pay by card or in full. He decided to pay the full amount by card. His ex was surprised to hear that, especially when it's a 2.38 million car. The man stated that Chu was just pretending because there's no way he'd have that kind of money in his account. The woman agreed because back then, Chu couldn't afford anything but instant noodles just to chase her. They mocked him by saying that a broke student buying a luxury car is a joke. They added that there's no need to put on a show, especially when it's embarrassing if his card gets declined. Black Ghost told them that it's none of their business. He challenged them about what they would do if he can actually afford it. The man stated that if Chu can afford it, he will call him Dad right there, but if he can't, then Chu will have to call him Dad. The woman thinks he's just bluffing. The woman gave him his key and card back and stated that the car was now his. Chu thanked him. Black Ghost had a smirk on his face. The man couldn't believe it. While his girlfriend was curious about when Chu got so rich. Black Ghost grabbed the man by the collar and urged him to keep his word in calling their boss Dad. Chu told him not to waste more time on people like those. Black Ghost stated that he's too kind. If it was him, he wouldn't let the man leave without saying Dad. The man felt ashamed. When Chu drove off with his new car, his ex ran after him. The sales associates couldn't help but gossip about her. The male sales associate stated that she thought she found a rich guy, but she missed out on someone with real potential. The woman sales associate replied that it's just how people are. They regret only after losing something. At Cloud Edge's restaurant, it is N City's top spot for fine dining and service. Chu was being welcomed. The waitress gave her the menu and asked what he'd like to order. He ordered the 5,888 wen Boston lobster and a 7,888 wen king crab. Chu looked like he's in bliss when the price was worth it, and he's being fed with sexy ladies. He justified that after he had cooked so many meals for the iguana, it's time for him to enjoy the life of luxury. He took out his phone. Their advisor had sent a message on their group chat, reminding them that classes would start next week. Chu just remembered that he's still a sophomore. He checked his stats because once classes start, he'll have less time. He had to earn more money fast to help his lizard break through to the shadow realm. Swordfish. It is the fastest swimmer among the species of fish. It can reach speeds of up to 60 miles per hour, which is about 90 kilometers per hour. But Chu is currently faster than that. The iguana ate sailfish, and Chu finds it really delicious. Once he has his fill, he'll resume treasure hunting. Because of this meal, his evolution value increased by +10. When he spreads out his senses, he can roughly detect things dozens of kilometers away. Unfortunately, even after scanning the seabed, he has not found any shipwrecks. Few days had gone by with no results. He could tell that the world is starting to change in strange ways. He wondered if there are any secret supernatural organizations run by the government. But now that he has those abilities, he needs to be even more cautious in his actions. Chu arrived at the high-end office building in N City. After Changshu transferred to the company, he has not visited it even once. It was the busiest area in N City. He could tell Changshu really went all out to make the company look good. At Tianlan Marine Industries, the receptionist recognized assistant Zhang. Zhang ordered her to call everyone to the boss's office. At the boss's office, Zhang introduced Mr. Chen to the employees. The ladies' eyes sparkled when they saw that he's young, handsome, and rich. Ning Naixin, the receptionist, was introduced to him. A woman served him coffee. Zhang told him that it was her secretary named Su Lengyu. Chu didn't even glance at her and simply told her to just leave the coffee there. After checking the documents, he realized that even if it was a shell company, it was surprisingly well equipped. It costs hundreds of thousands to maintain the company every month, so he had to search for more shipwreck treasures. He told Jiangshu to end the introductory meeting there and have everyone get back to their work. He also advised him to head back to the ship and keep an eye on things. Even if the mind control effect is stable for now, he knows that the subconscious hypnosis isn't foolproof. He knew he had to make sure they don't interact too much with the outside world. His constitution increases twice by +0.7. He uses his clones to hunt while he lays around and becomes stronger. He felt good about it. Meanwhile, the sea iguana continued to hunt. He smacked a larger fish in the head. He thought it was a barracuda, but it seemed longer. This fish looked like 4 or 5 meters long. It was unusual since it is mostly 2 meters long. Its speed is also incredible, and its teeth are harder than steel. If not for his strong external force field, he would have been hurt. He realized that the number of fierce mutated fish in the ocean is increasing. The meat was also different. It provides much more energy. The system notified him that his clone devours with effort and gains 90 evolution points. His constitution increased to +9. Chu could tell that something was unusual about the fish. His muscles and bones are enhancing, and the increase is 10 times what it used to be. He felt that it's a shame since it seems like it's the only one of its kind. At Tianlan Marine Industries office, the women gossiped about their boss, wondering if he has a significant other. Nixian was fangirling hard over him. They immediately stopped when someone asked them if they're not off work yet. It was Chu. Leng Yu replied that they have some things to finish up. With his hearing, he could already pick up on their chatter while he was in the elevator, but to avoid awkwardness, he decided to pretend that he didn't hear anything. He invited them for dinner since they had been working so hard. That made the girls happy. They went to a restaurant named Above the Clouds. The women were impressed with his luxury car and the lavish restaurant. When the total of 48,888 came in, he simply gave the card to the server. Nixian fell for him even more. She wondered which rich family he came from. Leng Yu couldn't believe how he's just throwing money around. The other woman thinks that following their boss like that could give them a bright future ahead. He told them that he has something to handle that night, so after dinner he'll get them all a ride back. The sea breeze is so soothing that it really lifts his spirits. At nighttime, on a deserted rocky shore. Chu hasn't stopped training during that time. His physique is over 20 times that of an average person, and his punch strength exceeds 2 tons. With the external force field, his strength doubles, and his punches had come close to 5 tons, but the stronger he gets, the harder it is to control. So he had to keep training to get used to his strength. Then he noticed something. It was late at night, and yet there are people in such a remote place. The man on the shore asked those men on the boat if they still don't thrush them even after doing so many deals together. The leader of the men in the boat required that they would do it the usual way, where they give the money first, then the goods will follow. Chu eavesdropped from behind a boulder. He could tell that it's a D-grade deal. But those people are armed, so he needs to be cautious. The deal was done, and the men from different sides shook hands. The leader of the men on the shore told the guy on the right, whom he called Chi, to be careful since things are tight lately. The man on the left assured their boss that they only work through single channels, and even if something goes wrong with the goods, it won't be traceable. Chu sneaked behind them. He took down 2 men at the same time. The boss of the group got ready. He pulled out his gun. But Chu was fast. He immediately punched him. RMC described those men as someone who already lost their humanity, and taking them out is practically doing a public service. After that, he made the iguana look for the boat. The sea iguana crashed on the boat, causing it to break in half. Those men fell into the sea. The iguana swam around them. Those men panicked upon seeing it. They all screamed to be saved. One man took out a gun since he knew that they wouldn't be able to get away. He suggested that they go all out since it doesn't look like it can dodge a bullet. They shot at it. It landed on the side of the eye of the iguana. The man trembled in fear. The sea iguana looked ferocious. Eventually, the man was gone. The corpses floated in the sea while the sea iguana took a briefcase. Sometime later at Chu's room, he counted the money. 1 stack of bills is 10 grand, while 3 million is 300 stacks. He thought of how the cash laid out in front of him feels so much more real than the numbers on a bank card. The next morning, at a cafe, a stunning woman made the men's heads turn. It was Leng Yu. She asked for his signature. They watched her. They didn't speak, but those men had the same thought, that the boss was so young. Chu decided to head back. He ordered her to notify everyone of the meeting time. When he passed by those guys, they felt his strong aura. Just his presence alone was terrifying. At the meeting room, Chu told them to handle every detail well, and they will be the company's heroes. And as long as the company's performance keeps going up, by year end, everyone will get a bonus. Chu received a message, so he pulled out his phone. He was told that it's the last day to register for school, and he's the only one left in class. Because of that message, he was reminded of school. He told his employees that he needs to go register at school. Since not much needs to be done, he told them to call it a day. He also assigned Leng Yu to handle company matters while he's not there. Nixian was surprised to know that the boss was still a student. Her colleague thought he was some rich heir, raised with perfect manners because of how composed he was. At N University campus, Chu got out of his luxury car, and he drew attention to him, especially when his car is worth over 2 million. Instantly, he was posted on the campus forum. It received 748 shares, 2,822 comments. A woman saw it and said that he looked so familiar. She compared his eye to stars because of how it radiates a sharp brilliance. Then, in the comments section, she read the name of the student and found out that he's a sophomore in the finance department. While walking in the campus, Chu was thinking how his body and strength are improving quickly, but he only knew 8 extremities, cloud steps, and tan leg technique. He realized that he needed to learn new skills to better control his current power. He saw the Taekwondo club members practicing. He knew that he could easily squash someone like that with a single slap. He knew that if he wanted to control his strength, he had to keep training himself. At the Longteng Steel, Chu wanted to custom order some steel. He's estimating 100 tons or more. A woman escorted him to the VIP lounge and told him that she'll get in touch with their sales manager at the VIP lounge. The man asked him what kind of steel he wanted to order. He expressed that he wanted a steel pillar with 2 meters in diameter and 5 meters tall, and a few blocks weighing 1, 5, 10, and 20 tons each. From his requirements, the total weight is about 200 tons, and the estimated cost is around 700,000, but the final price would still depend on the finished product. Chu agreed to it and was ready to sign the contract. The next morning, at Zhang Changshu's makeshift dock, Zhang told him that the whole area was his warehouse. Chu wanted to look around by himself, so he sent him back. The system notified him that his clone gained 8 evolution points through diligent eating. Since Chu hasn't reached the transformation stage yet, he knew that he had a long way to go. He imagined the steel pillar being placed in the warehouse, and once that happens, the warehouse would serve as his training ground. The maximum evolution points per day are 100, and he needed at least 1 more. Compared to the giant lizard's progress, his body was still way too slow. Meanwhile, the police investigated the crime scene. Luo Hao, known as the Big Boss Luo in the underworld, owns a bar and commands over a dozen lackeys. The police saw that the right hand was severed by a blunt weapon, wielded with incredible force, barely hanging by a thread of skin. While Iron Lao Chi was hit on the chest with immense force and died on the spot. All 3 men were killed in a minute by the same person. The police determined that the strength and speed of the individual was insane. It made them wonder who could pull off something like that. They heard on the radio that there are more bodies on the sea, at Tianlan Maritime Company. Chu was resting on a massage chair, while Leng Yu informed him that the company had no real work, and everyone was just playing around. She suggested that they hand out flyers or something. He replied that there's no need. He made an analogy that business is like fishing. They just wait for fish to bite. But deep inside, Leng Yu was worried that they would go bankrupt, and she knew that if they don't advertise, there's no way people would come to them. But as if on cue, Naik Sin arrived and informed the boss that someone was there to discuss business with him. Leng Yu was surprised. She didn't expect that someone would really come to deliver money after all. Someone entered the office and searched for Zhang. Chu replied that Zhang and his people are all under him now. The man was impressed that he managed to do that. Then he introduced himself as Wang Tianhua. Chu was familiar with Boss Wang. He invited him to sit down and talk slowly. Leng Yu told them that they'll get them tea. Boss Wang shared with him that he had a centuries-old sunken ship worth at least tens of millions. He asked him if he could make it happen. Chu inquired how he plans to split the goods. Boss Wang replied that he'll provide him with the map and he'll take 70% while Chu gets 30%. He justified that it's a fair rate even with international teams. Chu suggested that he go find an international team instead. Boss Wang asked what he wanted instead. Chu suggested splitting 50-50. Boss Wang was in a pinch with the laws being strict nowadays, and private salvage is impossible. Chu was their only shot. He asked him if he could get the job done. Chu confidently replied that he has other men like Zhang. He suggested that if Boss Wang had doubts, he could come and see it for himself. That made him agree to a 50-50 split. They shook hands to seal the deal. Meanwhile, at the police station, the chief was still wondering what the creature was for it to have exaggerated claw marks. He started to think that it's some kind of abnormal creature. He checked his message and there was a notification about confidential data about multiple deaths at the sea. They suspected that it was done by a beast. The professionals are tasked to investigate it immediately. Meanwhile, Chu's iron pillar arrived. Leng Yu inquired what it's for. He replied that it is a sea-calming pillar buried at the pier to stabilize the waters and hold back the sea dragon kings. Leng Yu was impressed that he knows too much. Chu checked his balance. He realized that money could fly away so fast and 321,800 was only left in his bank account. At the Bixie Garden Complex, Chu drops off Leng Yu in her home. She invited him to come downstairs for some water. Chu refused since he had something else to do. Leng Yu felt embarrassed that she did that when her home was messy. Chu drove off hurriedly because earlier at dinner, he accidentally snapped his chopsticks, and because of that, he knew he had to practice to control his strength. He arrived at the shore and started punching the boulders. His goal was to achieve perfect mastery to fully use his powers. His ore shield can now cover up to 30 meters. With it, he can sense every movement of wind and grass around him. 3 days later, Sea Iguana kept eating, gaining him plus 210 evolution points and plus 21 constitution points. This time, he found a red-eyed mutated fish, just like the one he had before. When Tianhua's ship slows down, he realizes that they must be close. He called him and informed him that his crew had already arrived. He asked him when they would start. Tianhua praised him for the quick work. He informed him that they will begin at night. After pouring hard work on his training, Chu gained plus 15 aura control experience. With aura enhancement, his strength multiplies. When Tianhua arrived, he informed Chu that he didn't see his crew. Chu told him that the crew is already underwater, so he just needs to know the location. Tianhua was impressed. He informed him that it's 200 meters to the left of his sheep, about 700 to 800 meters deep. Even with his constitution, the water pressure is making him uncomfortable. When he arrived, there was nothing there. He informed Tianhua about it. Tianhu was impressed that he had done that quickly. He couldn't believe how it's possible to scan 700 to 800 meters deep in just 20 minutes. Tianhua's assistant informed him that after hundreds of years, the location has likely shifted. He suggested moving about a kilometer east. He told Chu to go east. Chu followed his instruction. He used his senses to search. Then he eventually found it. They successfully retrieved the treasures. When they checked, 8 pieces were broken and 3 were intact. The estimated value is about 30 million. If sold privately, they could get another 20 million. Tianhu happily told Chu about it. Chu leaves it up to him since he'll just collect the money. A few days later, Tianhu presented briefcases of money to Chu. They came up with a total of over 23 million. Each person gets 11.5 million. He told Chu to count it if he likes. Chu replied that he doesn't need to because he trusts him. Tianhua laughed at how straightforward he is. He'd definitely contact him again if he has info on a sunken ship. With that, Chu's financial problem has been solved. But his strength is still weak. He needed to train to the point where sniper bullets and grenades won't affect him, so he could do even more riskier moves. The next day, at Tianlan Marine Industries, a staff member informed him that someone submitted a resume. That person boasted that he can bring 200 fishing enthusiasts every month for a 50,000 monthly salary. Nixine saw that he's back. He checked the resume and immediately declined it, since he deemed that it was a scam. Nixine was happy to see him because he hadn't been to the office the past few days. Chu replied that he had a big project, and he just casually made a few million. Nixine was impressed. He promised them earlier that he'd treat them after the project, so that night, he planned to take them all to Yunshang Tianwai to relax. The other female staff felt genuinely happy. The work was easy, the pay was good, and the boss treated them with respect, unlike in her friends' companies where managers made unwanted advances. It made her wonder, if the boss ever made a move on her, would she possibly say yes at Yunshang Tian? Nixon expressed that she had no idea that fishing was so profitable. The brown-haired woman also dotted that a few days of fishing could already bring millions. Chu replied that they just got lucky since they caught a bluefin tuna. One fish of that kind is worth hundreds of thousands. A man approached Chu and asked if he's the owner of the Tianlan Marine Industries. The man introduced himself as Li Tanrui, the deputy general manager of Tianhong Group and also a friend of Wang Tianhua. He invited Chu to go fishing at sea. Chu expressed that he's interested as long as it's profitable. He told him to visit his company to discuss it. Lung Yu gave him Chu's business card. He told Chu that he'll see him tomorrow. Xiao Hui expressed that she didn't expect him to be that young. Nixine asked him if their company is really big. She replied that their chairman is worth tens of billions, even richer than the richest man in N City. She noticed that he has the same surname as Tianhong's chairman, so she speculated that he's a relative. They were all impressed. Chu didn't expect that even the richest man's son would be interested in shipwrecks. It was such a coincidence that he was just telling them that he caught a big fish, and now he stumbled into one. And not just one, but 2. The sea iguana held one using its limbs, and the second one was in its mouth. At the warehouse. Chu realized that a fish worth over 10 million doesn't even taste special. He placed it in a chest box filled with ice while stating that it isn't a fish, but it's practically money swimming in water. He planned to find a buyer for it the next day. While he was training, he received a call that young Master Li was waiting for him at the office for quite a while. He replied that he'll head there at once. At Tianlan Marine Company. Tanrui told Chu that he got the exact location of a shipwreck. Chu was curious why he's still interested in shipwrecks when the Tianhong Group is already wealthy. He replied that there's not a person who thinks they have too much money. Chu suggested splitting 50-50 when the goods arrive. Tanrui agreed to it. Chu could tell that Tanrui isn't after the treasure on board. He opened up another topic by asking Tanrui if he knew anyone who runs a high-end seafood restaurant. He shared that he has a 4-meter bluefin tuna. Tanrui was impressed that even a bluefin tuna was within his reach. He replied that he knows someone and suggested that they grab lunch together so they can introduce him. At the warehouse, a man rushed to enter. Chu told him not to rush since the fish isn't going away. Manager Lin told his boss that the quality is perfect and it meets A-grade standards in every aspect. The man in the suit told Chu that the fish is top-notch. Considering their friendship, he negotiated the price to 7 million. Chu agreed to that price. Leng Yu couldn't believe that a single fish was sold for a whopping 7 million. After that, they went to Marriott International. Since they had a great haul, Chu wanted to splurge a little. Leng Yu's jaw dropped since it's a place for the world's top luxury brands. She couldn't help but think that Chu is the epitome of indulgence, since his money comes way too easily. Meanwhile, the sales associate was happy to have met a big spender like him. After that, they went to the dock warehouse. Ling Yu checks out his watch that cost 2 million. Other than that, he bought so many luxury goods that cost probably over 2 million as well. Chu informed her that he was interested in buying a villa and asked her to look for options that suited his preferences. He specified that the property should be large and spacious, located in a quiet area, and within a budget of 30 million. Ling Yu acknowledged his request. Meanwhile, deep in the ocean, he saw a submarine through the eyes of the sea iguana. He thinks that it's a pity that he isn't strong enough yet to tear apart those submarines. He swam through a crease and noticed that there's something dangerous in there. He decided to leave since there was no need to take unnecessary risks, but a huge ass crab appeared, and he got triggered. He fought with it. There, he realized that it's much stronger than the mutated ribbon fish. He swam fast to evade its attack. He noticed that the force that this monster could unleash is over 10 tons. He moved at the speed of light and hit it, and he defeated it. He knew that he couldn't finish it in one go, so he'll have to absorb it slowly. Meanwhile, Chu back home read a report about the usual marine phenomena in recent years. There were reports about giant ribbon fish, giant triggerfish, and the most recent one is a giant spider. He could tell that the world is changing. It was reported that SSN 698, an M-country nuclear submarine, vanished at a depth of 600 meters in the Pacific. The latest report is that it was attacked by an unknown giant sea creature. There was another report that a nuclear submarine in the Arctic collided with an underwater iceberg, killing all 127 crew members. All of it happened over the past 2 years. He realized that the deeper he went, the more of an unfamiliar creature he became. Consequently, the sea iguana devoured the crab, earning him plus 290 evolution points and plus 29 base body stats. There was an additional plus 280 points and plus 280 base body stats. By that time, his body size had grown to 18 meters. His physical stats have increased by over 100 points, and his bone structure muscle strength reached a new level. Even punching an iron pole doesn't even hurt him anymore. With that said, not even a handgun could do more than a scratch on his skin. And with his natural armor and reaction speed, ordinary bullets won't even leave a dent on him. At Xinhua bookstore, Chu read a book. This was fueled with his thought of the world not being simple as he expected, so learning and readying were his best choices. He caught the attention of some women because of how handsome he is. They looked at him from afar, but didn't have the guts to ask for his contact info. Chu believes that only by continuous learning can he keep improving. He went back to the warehouse after reading. He trained hard since Bajikwan and Xingyikwan seemed simple, but mastering those isn't easy. That's when he received a call from Tianrui. He was informed that they had arrived, so he told them to send the location, and his people will be there in half a day. A little later, he reported that he found gold and some shattered porcelain. Tianrui asked if he saw a special box. Boss Li told him that as long as he finds the box, everything else on the shipwreck is his. Chu replied that he'll ask around. Just the treasure box alone is already worth over 20 million. But as for the special box, it was just a pile of mud. He had no idea why Li wanted it. When it opened, Li was disappointed with the condition of his elixirs. Meanwhile, the police investigated a body. And just like the people who died earlier, all the blood from the body was gone, and their muscles dried up, even when the time of death was only 10 hours ago. They decided to wait for the higher-ups to come down and investigate. The chief noticed how all the victims were thugs, had no family ties, but were physically strong. He told the policeman Xiaozhong to write up a report and shut down all entertainment venues in the city. Later that night, a woman sucked the blood of a man. The chief officer was surprised to know that even when everything was shut down, 4 more people had died. He couldn't understand how it happened. Consequently, Chu went back to training. After training for a few days, he made great progress in both Bajikwan and Xingyikwan. The system informed him that he had comprehended a new martial art technique. He was tasked to name it. He called it an explosive fist. It combines Bajikwan's 8 extreme stance and Xingyikwan's half-step Bengkwan. 1 step equates to 1 explosion, and his fists are like cannonballs. Meanwhile, at the sea, a fisherman was happy because he finally caught the fish that he was chasing for so long. He knew he had to be cautious since the investment was huge. Just 1 fishing net costs millions, so he can't afford any mistakes. Suddenly, someone reported to him that there's a hole in the net and the fish are escaping. He immediately ordered me to pull the net up. The subordinate reported to him that the net won't budge, even if the detector showed nothing. Meanwhile, the sea iguana had feasted on the school of fish. Chu was pleased that a single bite takes dozens at once. He finds it satisfying, and with his water affinity, those sonar detectors can't detect him at all. When he was full, he decided to head back. After that, the fisherman was left puzzled that his fishing net was broken, and all the fish were gone. He wondered what kind of monster would have been behind it. Concurrently, Chu chilled at the dockside. Tianrui called and informed him that he's heading back to N City. He wanted to show him his gratitude, so he'll take him to a great place. Chu accepted his invitation. Later that night at Mengluo Elegant Pavilion, a woman in a red Chinese dress welcomed them. Tianrui confirmed that no one had booked the Yunxiao Hall. The woman replied that it's always reserved for him. They settled at Yunxiao Hall and were entertained by female dancers. He finally understood why the young master ignored his duties. A place like this, relaxing, beautiful, and full of charm, made it easy to forget about the outside world. After hours of indulging in that atmosphere, Chu drove his car. He could sense that someone was following him, and the aura made him uncomfortable. He felt that he's being stalked by a giant lizard. He wondered if it was a monster or a ghost. He was thrilled since it had been a while since he had stretched his legs. Suddenly, a red sports car drove by his side and challenged him to a race. He clicked his tongue in disappointment. He drove so fast and outran them. The man in the red sports car couldn't believe it. He commented that the guy was killing himself. Even if Chu went that fast, the stalker could still keep up. He realized that it's not just a weak creature. He arrived at the seaside and invited the stalker to come out. It was the woman who welcomed them at the restaurant earlier. She explained that he's just bathing by the sea when someone took her clothes. She requested that he grab her something to wear. Chu replied that he'll get it for her, but charged at her. He hit her, but was left surprised. As the dust settled, the woman transformed. She had a mermaid tail, multiple arms, and a long tongue. She wanted to eat Chu because of his strong and rich life force. Chu asked what she was. She replied that she's a woman, too, but a more perfect version. She is called Yin Xiao. She stated that eating him is like eating hundreds of healthy, energetic people. It's enough to help her complete the first stage of evolution. Chu immediately stepped back, and when he found his footing, he charged again. She couldn't believe how fast he was. His punch landed on her, and she crashed on the ground. She couldn't believe that he defeated her when he doesn't even have the aura of the awakened being. Chu punched a tree, splitting it in half. He kept doing the same to the nearby trees. Xiao had been hiding by fusing with the trunks and stones, but every time Chu attacked, her aura got weaker. After knocking down all the trees, Chu looked at Xiao and stated that hiding like that was a good survival skill, but she was unlucky to meet someone like him. He told her that if she answered his questions, he'd make her death quick. Xiao smirked and asked if she looked scared of dying. She glanced at the moon and said it was beautiful. She added that she had already taken her revenge. If she had just one more month, she said, she would have finished her shadow transformation, and not even a war god could scare her then. Chu continued her thought, saying it was bad luck for her to run into someone like him in an ordinary city. As she spoke, her body began to fade away. Then a system message appeared, telling Chu that he had killed the corruptor and gained 10 attribute points. He had no idea what that meant. The system showed him that attribute points could be used to improve his skills, strengthen weapons, and boost his overall abilities. They could also unlock special powers like lightning, ice, fire, and more. Chu now had powers, and soon, his lizard would too. He had an idea. What if his sea iguana turns into a real-life Godzilla? Back at the warehouse, Chu tried to research corruptors and awakeners, but he couldn't find anything useful. He realized the authorities had blocked that information. Still, he didn't mind. He was too weak for now. He planned to dive deeper into that world once he got stronger. Maybe when his physique hit 10,000, he uttered. Then the system told him to choose an element to enhance. The options were wind, fire, water, earth, lightning, light, or dark. But with his current stats, he could only pick a basic element. He chose lightning. With that, he unlocked lightning mastery and gained +1 to his mental stat. Now, he could generate a small spark of lightning from his fingertips. It wasn't much, but it could improve with training since the skill had experience points. He was satisfied. He checked his status window. Level 1. Physique, 465+. Mental control, 57+. Techniques, external chi, beginner. 570 out of 1,000 EXP. Ki sense, beginner. 480 out of 1,000 EXP. Skills, collapsing punch, beginner. 26/500 EXP. Sky step, intermediate. 412/1000 EXP. Spring kick, intermediate. 412 out of 1,000 EXP. Lightning mastery, beginner. 10 out of 10,000 EXP. He currently had no attribute points left. His clone was a scale thorn lizard, which had already evolved twice. That made it a mature beast. Its next goal, to become a beast lord. Evolution value, 3,190 out of 5,000. Abilities. Observation. Hockey. Armament hockey. Talents. Water affinity. Lightning mastery. Meanwhile, out at sea, the sea iguana punched and electrocuted a sea creature. It was another mutated beast, just as terrifying as the giant spider from before. After killing it, the iguana devoured it and gained 980 evolution points. Now, even the giant lizard had lightning mastery, and it was stronger than Chu's. At N City Airport, Chief Officer Guande was there to welcome the agents from the Special Affairs Bureau. A man named Huang Junfeng introduced himself and thanked Guan for his cooperation. Then another man stepped forward. He introduced himself as Nangong Jian, the lead investigator for Case 907. He immediately asked to see the body. Guan led them to it, and explained that the corpse was found last night. He also mentioned that 4 people had mysteriously died, 1 each night for the past 4 days. Junfeng used his ability on the corpse. An image appeared above the body, shocking Guan. Junfeng explained that the aura had disappeared, which meant the culprit was already dead. Meanwhile, back at the warehouse, Chu continued training. His powers were growing fast, so fast he could barely control them. When he dropped Naixin off and she invited him inside, he didn't dare accept. He was afraid he might break her couch just by sitting on it. He also kept his distance because he worried he might hurt her by accident, even just by getting too close. The next day, he visited Villa number 88 with a sales agent. The main building was 560 square meters, with a 70 square meter front yard. It also had a 200 square meter backyard and an 80 square meter pool hall. The agent said the buyer paid in full, including furniture worth over $1 million. The total cost, $34 million. Chu said he'd take it for $25 million. Then his phone rang. One of his subordinates was calling for help. At the same time, the special investigator stood on a rooftop watching over the city. Junfeng told Jian that there was no unusual activity last night, so it seemed the corruptor was truly dead. But he also found it strange. Being in a semi-ethereal state isn't something a normal person could survive. He suggested they stay and investigate more. But Jian told him to focus on training instead. Otherwise, when the apocalypse comes, he'd just be cannon fodder. Junfeng found it hard to believe an apocalypse would really happen. Xian explained that the professor predicted the next spatial fluctuation would be 10 times stronger than the one 20 years ago. The most important thing now was to raise their abilities before that day came. That was the only way they could repay the country for everything it had done for them. Meanwhile, out at sea, using the sea iguana, Chu discovered something valuable. But while digging through the sand, he accidentally broke a lot of porcelain. He searched the internet to check the value of the items. Luckily, one of the pieces was from the Song dynasty and could be worth several million, maybe even tens of millions. He regretted being careless. If he hadn't broken so much, it could have been worth over 100 million. At that moment, he was at a restaurant when he noticed a woman being harassed. She accused a man of touching her, but he denied it. Then, shamelessly, the man said that since she accused him anyway, he might as well grab her for real. Another customer stood up for the woman and said he saw the man do it. The man challenged him to a fight if he was angry. Chu chimed in, saying he had never seen anyone as shameless as that guy. The man arrogantly replied that if Chu had a problem with him, then he should try hitting him. The man looked down on Chu, calling him just another hot-blooded kid who only knew how to talk tough. Chu turned to the waitress and asked if their place had surveillance cameras. She understood what he meant and quietly unplugged the system. Then she told him the cameras were broken. Chu smirked. The harasser started to panic. Our MC slapped the shit out of this pervert's face. The man was left with a red handprint on his cheek and foam at the corners of his mouth. Chu stood tall and found it absurd that in this day and age there were still people asking to get beaten up. He returned to the warehouse. His thunder control increased by +10, and his mental strength went up by +1. As he rested on the couch, he reflected on how short human life is. Just a blink compared to the lifespan of a star. But he believed that one day he'd surpass the limits of life and death. The next day, he told Leng Yu to study accounting since she'd be in charge of managing the company's finances one day. He also said she'd be paid double. She agreed without hesitation. She then asked where he was headed next. He replied simply that he was going to sell some things. A Chinese man named Gao welcomed him to his antique shop. Chu wanted him to estimate the value of a porcelain plate. Gao invited him upstairs to talk in private. They opened the briefcase. Gao smelled the salt water and immediately knew it had been salvaged from the sea. After examining it, he confirmed it was genuine. However, since it was part of a set and Chu only had one piece, its value dropped significantly. It was unfortunate. When Chu found the porcelain, there were several pieces nearby, but only one was still intact. Such a waste. Gao told him that since it was just a single piece, he could only offer 4.5 million. Chu said he'd think about it. As they walked down the street, Leng Yu mentioned that after checking so many shops, Gao seemed the most honest. Our MC wasn't so sure. Still, since Gao offered the highest price, he was considering it. But Chu noticed something strange in Gao's eyes, like he was hiding something. Meanwhile, inside a luxurious villa, in the living room, Gao reported to a blonde man that there was a lead on a sunken ship. He showed him the porcelain and pointed out the official seal they'd been searching for. He guessed that the young man who brought it in probably knew more. The blonde boss told him to pass the info to the Fox and said he wanted a full report on the guy within 30 minutes. Not long after, as Gao looked at his phone, they found out the man was just a regular college student who had recently bought a luxury car for 3 million and even traveled overseas with Tianrui. Gao suggested they cooperate with whoever was backing him, but the boss, Du Hong, just laughed at the idea. Later that night, lying in bed, Chu thought back on the deal. He had filled out some forms and everything had gone smoothly. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that Gao was hiding something. He hoped nothing weird would come from it. The next day, Chu was still uneasy about Gao, but he decided to head straight to school to check things out. After absorbing the sea python, his strength, muscle density, and overall power had increased to about 50 to 60 times that of a normal person. He even wondered if he could survive a gunshot now. When he got to the elevator, a man was already waiting outside. As soon as Chu stepped out, the man threatened him and pressed a gun against his back. They got into a van. Chu pretended to be scared and asked where they were taking him. He said he didn't remember doing anything to offend them. The driver replied that they were just bringing him to someone. Once they arrived, they reported to their boss that they had brought Chu. The boss had a scar running across his eyes and cheek. He said he wanted to see the man who had kept him waiting all night. Chu looked around, a bit disappointed. Was this all they had? The kidnappers thought he was acting weird. He had looked scared earlier, but now he was completely calm. His composure was starting to freak them out. The boss gave the order to draw their weapons. One of them pointed a gun at Chu. Chu moved quickly and kicked the guy. He then took the gun from his hand. The other two quickly pointed their weapons at him, and the boss warned him to drop it. Trying to intimidate him, the boss said Chu was alone, while he had 2 men, and Chu's gun only had 1 bullet. But Chu just smiled and asked if they still hadn't figured it out yet, that it was actually him who had them surrounded. He then looked at the boss and asked who gave the order. If he told the truth, Chu promised to make his death quick. Chu pulled the trigger. It was a clean headshot. The lackeys froze in shock. They thought this was their chance since our MC was out of bullets. Chu threw the gun up into the air, then calmly caught their bullets with his bare hands. They were stunned. One of them called him a monster. Even Chu was surprised by how far he'd come. The fight continued. In the end, one man was left trembling. Chu questioned him about who sent them. The man revealed it was Chang Du-hong, the director of Longhua Group. He said Du-hong owned a shop on Guan Street and lived in Guanshan Villa number 3. Chu grabbed the phone of the guy he shot. He used it to call Du-hong and told him they'd be seeing each other that night. Meanwhile, Gao was complaining that 20 million was too much, that Du-hong was being too generous. But Du-hong told him to prepare it. He said it was worth that much if it could cost dozens of lives. He was curious to see if Chu could actually come and take it. Chu just ran toward the villa. His speed had reached 120 meters per second. At Du-hong's villa, Gao asked if he thought the kid got scared and backed off. But Du-hong replied that anyone who could beat 7 armed men alone wasn't ordinary. Du-hong gathered his dozen gunmen and a few dozen loyal men. Suddenly, the brightly lit villa went completely dark. They turned on the backup power, but noticed the CCTV at the main gate was destroyed, along with the front door. Du-hong, furious, ordered his men to shoot anyone who entered, no questions asked. Gunfire broke out, and several guards were quickly taken down. Everyone stared at the front door waiting. It slowly creaked open. Du-hong immediately shouted for them to fire. But Chu moved in fast, easily dodging the bullets and taking down the gunmen in the room. Then he calmly walked toward Du-hong. That's when Du-hong realized Chu was awakened. Panicking, he offered 500 million to spare him and Gao. Chu said it was a tempting offer, but after killing everyone else, he couldn't just walk away. Instead, he said he wanted to talk about the awakened. Du-hong was visibly nervous. He began explaining that back in '99, in Tiger Mountain Town, there was a fight over territory involving over a dozen people. Suddenly, a person engulfed in flames descended from the sky. In an instant, the entire town was covered in fire. By the next day, the whole place had turned into a lake. The authorities later named it Sunken Lake. Chu was stunned by how powerful the awakened were. He felt lucky he hadn't caught the attention of someone like that yet. Suddenly, Du-hong pulled out a gun, but he was too close. Chu quickly pushed the gun aside, punched Du-hong, and kicked Gao at the same time. Later, the police arrived. By the time they got there, Du-hong's entire villa had been burnt to rubble. They recovered 31 bodies. One of them was Du-hong. The police chief guessed Chu was responsible. He also suspected Chu had something to do with the deaths in Red Forest. He sensed that an attack was coming. He planned to give Chu a chance, but deep down he felt Chu was too ruthless, someone who had already abandoned morality. Meanwhile, back at the warehouse, there was an empty spot at the table. The chicken he left behind was gone, and only an oily stain remained. From the looks of it, whatever took the food wasn't ordinary. Then the system notified him that he gained 67 evolution points and a plus 6.7 boost to his body stats. At the same time, deep underwater, while devouring a fish, Chu sensed something ahead. Curious, he decided to check it out. At 1,200 meters below the surface, he discovered a live volcano, but the water pressure was getting harder to endure. Back at the warehouse, a man walked by holding a shopping bag. Chu secretly followed him. He launched a surprise attack and hit with full force. But when the dust settled, the man was gone. Chu realized his target might have powers related to dimensional rifts. Suddenly, the floor darkened. The system warned him his body was being corrupted by polluted energy. It also informed him that his body was strong enough to resist the corruption, for now. But that resistance would only last for 5 more hours. Chu found himself in another world. He entered a dark room where a strange creature stood near the door. Suddenly, it lunged at him. He wasn't sure if it was a zombie or some other type of monster. He responded with a punch that blasted its head apart. The system notified him that he had killed a defective demon corpse and earned 2 stat points. He noticed a sign near the door. "Welcome to Tiger Mountain Town." It reminded him of what Du Hong said, the town that supposedly turned into a lake overnight. But now, Chu realized the truth. It wasn't destroyed by humans. It was pulled into another world. Knowing how dangerous it was, he decided to leave immediately. Unbeknownst to him, a woman was watching from a tree branch nearby, silently eating a whole chicken. Chu used 2 stat points to enhance his lightning power. He gained plus 20 experience and plus 2 spirit. Back at the warehouse, he began researching Tiger Mountain Town. To his shock, over 30,000 people had gone missing. He imagined that if they had all turned into monsters, defeating them could give him an incredible number of stat points. He called Tianrai and asked for help finding out where the missing people from Tiger Mountain Town ended up after 20 years. Tianrai said he'd look into it the next day. The following day, Chu visited a shop and placed a custom order for a small steel house and a large knife for decoration. He wanted the knife to be 2 meters long, thick, durable, and sharp. The shopkeeper warned him it might be difficult due to knife production regulations. Chu argued that no one in their right mind would run around carrying a 60-kilogram knife and start a rampage. But deep down, Chu had another reason. Demon corpses are strange, and he feared the knife might get infected. In addition to the knife and the steel house, he also planned to get himself a set of armor. After that, Chu met up with Tianran, who informed him that the records on the survivors from Tiger Mountain Town were inconsistent. The authorities claimed the situation was resolved, but there was no detailed data. Just as Chu suspected, over 30,000 people were buried along with the town. Meanwhile, deep in the sea, through the sea iguana, Chu caught over 40 fish. He still needed 300 more evolution points to reach the next stage. Next on his list was visiting a villa. There, he met Lin Qing, the owner. Qing complimented him on his good taste. Chu handed over the money, 20 million in cash. Qingjie was stunned by the full payment in cash. As that happened, the system notified him, plus 29 evolution points. With that, he hit the maximum number of points for this stage. The system asked if he wanted to evolve. At that moment, the sea iguana was 1,500 meters underwater. Chu chose to evolve. The sea iguana curled up and released a glowing yellow flame. Chu could feel the effects in his own body. His senses sharpened. He could hear ants moving food 100 meters away. At 300 meters, he could sense a security guard on patrol, grumbling about life. Despite his power and speed doubling, he remained incredibly agile. He had advanced to the Earth tier. His constitution reached 1,000, and his spirit hit 200. His affinity with water and lightning resulted in a new ability, electric fire breathing. He figured it was because of all the mutated tiger head fish he had eaten. The sea iguana was now 40 meters long, almost like a real-life Godzilla. But despite its size, it still had weak internal defenses, and the electric fire, while flashy, wasn't all that powerful. While swimming, he suddenly noticed a massive creature nearby. Chu thought that if he ate the creature, his power might grow enough to bite an aircraft carrier in half. He was already strong, but not yet at the level he wanted. When he ate the tiger-headed fish, he gained over 2,000 evolution points and a surge of fiery energy. Soon after, he found a cave that looked like it belonged to something dangerous. As he swam closer, he froze. A huge pillar was embedded into the bone of a massive creature. The sight was terrifying. Something on the creature's skull made the energy in Chu's body react. The system notified him. He had discovered an ancient factor. It asked if he wanted to absorb it. He immediately chose yes. As he absorbed the ancient factor, he began a powerful evolution. He gained the power of an ancient beast, the Crimson Flame. The energy flooded into him. The iguana began gathering an overwhelming surge of energy in its mouth. Then, a massive explosion erupted from the continuous absorption. The blast was so powerful, it wiped out an entire island. Meanwhile, back at the warehouse, Chu held his new sword. It weighed 120 kilograms, and the weight felt just right. He named it the Heavenly Sword. He was also satisfied with his titanium alloy armor. After his latest evolution, he gained the ability to sense other beings. He went back to the other world and was caught off guard by a little girl. He wondered if she was a survivor of Tiger Mountain Town, which would mean she might be a monster too. Soon, several others appeared. The town seemed to come alive at night. Chu struck one of them down. The system notified him. Demon Corpse defeated. 5 stat points earned. He instructed the system to enhance his heavenly sword. He was given options. He could upgrade durability, sharpness, armor piercing, monster damage, or add elemental effects like wind, fire, lightning, and more. He spent 3 points on durability and 2 points on sharpness. After that, he attacked another monster. He was fast, but still, not satisfied with his current speed. Shu gave 5 points to increase his armor's resilience and give points to increase the sharpness. He looked around. When he saw that there were more monsters, he immediately attacked. The system kept notifying him of the increase in his attribute points every kill he got. He moved swiftly, until he saw a big monster that was about to attack him, but he's confident in his upgrades. The monster punched him and he counterattacked with his fist. He realized that the monster was as strong as him, but it was too slow. Eventually, the system notified that he killed a 5th-tier armored demon corpse and gained 100 attribute points. He also discovered the demon armor element, which he can absorb by spending 10 attribute points. Learning that it was 5th tier helped him understand why it was so strong, and he had to hit it over 10 times just to kill it. He realized that he was still lacking a move. Out of the blue, he yelled, "Run!" He saw a girl underneath the table. It was the same girl who stole his chicken and was the one telling him to run. He realized that she doesn't have any ill intent. He approaches her and pats her head while introducing himself. This girl, named Jixi, had just become his sister, and he promised to take good care of her. He planned to bring her to the city and get her a new set of clothes. Under the bright sky. They drove around. While in the car, he asked her if she knew what the dark lake was in the flooded area. She replied that it's the black tide, but she doesn't know much except that it's dangerous. Eventually, they got back home after getting her a new white dress with the ribbon at the chest. She also has new pink shoes with a bow at the center. When the food arrived, she happily ran towards it. While eating, Chu checked his stats. He thought about his use of armor earlier. It helped suppress his crimson flame. If he went all out, it would have guaranteed a kill. With that, he used the remaining 80 attribute points to strengthen his armor. He just broke past the intermediate level, and he's 3 times stronger now. Meanwhile, at Ning University, 5 people gathered in a cozy room where there's couches and a coffee table. One student told the others that the place they are going to train for is at least at lieutenant level. That was a surprise to them. A female student asked if they had caught the eye of some secret department. Someone walked inside and replied, yes. The man informed them that a special department has been established in the city. Once the training is over, successful participants will become lieutenants. But of course, there will be various dangers. He asked them if they want to join, or if they'll just give up. They all replied that they wanted to join. Meanwhile, at the warehouse, Chu kept training. His outer covering causes the Crimson Flame's power to coalesce inside him and then explode outwards. He decided that it would be his Oko move. His punch had at least 150 tons of force. He named it Exterminating Flame. He finished 100 punches for his training. He imagined that if he ran into that demonic corpse again, 3 punches would be enough to defeat it. At Ning University's campus, Chu drove by. A student saw him and was in awe of how handsome he is. The man beside her replied that the car Chu drove was a luxury car. He assumed that Chu was born with a silver spoon. They were all in a car. A male student with glasses asked her why she cares about Chu so much. The teacher replied that Chu saved her from kidnappers a month ago. They hardly believe it. Roya claims that Chu is really powerful. Meanwhile, Chu sat on a bench with Jixi while the sea iguana roamed around the sea. Through the sea iguana, he saw a yacht filled with bandits from Kangaroo Country. He decided to test his strength on it. The crew on the submarine got alarmed when the sonar detected a large life form 100 meters below, and it was rapidly approaching. They got worried that it would hit them. The sea iguana scratched the submarine on the side. One crew reported that the 2 cabins at the back of the vessel have been damaged and are leaking. The sonar has been damaged too. The captain ordered the valves to stop the water from coming in. Then he turned on the multi-beam bathymetry, had set a destination, and took a picture of the surroundings. They saw that it was a huge creature around 40 meters long, and it looked bigger than a blue whale. The captain couldn't imagine something that huge. He ordered the back hatches closed and resurfaced. The crew replied that the water ingress was severe and the creature was still attacking. The captain ordered to fire the torpedoes and set the turbines to the maximum power and resurface as fast as possible. Chu felt the thrill when he saw the torpedoes coming. Chu was confident with his speed because he reached 200 kilometers per hour, so he knew that the torpedoes won't be able to catch up. He set his eye on the submarine. He dragged it so the torpedoes would hit it instead of him, and it caused a big explosion. He realized that if he gets hit, he'd definitely be injured. That motivated him to get stronger. After that, he attended an evening party. The student beside him shared that the new girl doing the ballet is one of the 4 prettiest of all new students, and she dances nimbly as a bird. Chu recognized her. Cece also thinks that she's pretty. A blonde, sexy lady was on the stage. Suddenly, a man came up to her. He brought her flowers and expressed his love to her. That didn't sit well with the crowd. The woman named Qian replied that the audience doesn't like it, and she doesn't like him either. After the event, she walked up to Chu. She reminded him that she was the woman that was drugged on the streets. Chu remembered that and asked if there's an issue. She had this seducing look on her face while staying quiet. Chu decided to just leave. She noticed that his car cost at least $2 million and he's wearing Gucci shoes, which are at least $30,000. She judged him to be born with a silver spoon, unlike a guy named Wei Xian. After that encounter, Chu got busy. Based on the info he got from Xixi, the black tide is coming and he'll have to find a cave and everything on Earth will disappear. He found a cave 30 meters deep and 4 or 5 meters tall. In there, he killed a second-tier mutated bone spear demon corpse and gained 20 attribute points. He also has killed a third-tier mutated flaming demon corpse and gained 20 attribute points. He felt hot when he fought against the demon corpse that had evolved to wield a power of flame. He asked the system if he could still increase his clothes' resistance to demon attacks. With 10 attribute points, his armor was infused with materials from demons, and it has ascended to become extraordinary. His extraordinary demon armor is immune to normal flames. Meanwhile, through the sea iguana, he looked at the vast Pacific Ocean, while thinking how it doesn't have many deep-water fish and mutated fish are hard to find. Because of that, he decided to hunt in fish farms. Somewhere underwater, he found 20 plush fish, which should be enough food for half a day. Going back to Chu, he's still fighting off monsters. This time, he's against a fast one. The monster saw him as food. Chu noticed that the demon's sword skills are nimble. When it holds a blade, its arms shake twice and the sword's trajectory changes. Since he already knew how it moves, he was certain he could end the fight now. He runs towards it. The monster had a devilish grin. It breathes fire towards his direction. Chu blocks it using his sword. It was surprised that he could withstand it. Then Chu slashed it. He had just killed a burning flame demon corpse and gained 100 attribute points. With that, he discovered a fusion core element. He could spend 10 attribute points to extract it. When he extracted it, his heavenly sword had melded with demonic materials, and it had ascended to become extraordinary. He tried swinging his sword, and he was pleased to have learned that he can combine the power of flame and lightning to make a blast of energy from his sword. On the other side of the town, there's a giant spider-looking monster. Chu saw it, but he didn't engage with it since the forest was getting too quiet and uncanny, so he decided to return first. He's back at the warehouse. Xixi offered to close the door for him. He was surprised that she could close a formless door. He realized that her power over space is more mysterious than he thought. Closing the door favors him too, since it would prevent any demon corpses from coming out. Suddenly, the system notified him that he can increase his storage space. 10 attribute points equates to 1 square meter. He expressed that he wanted that. It was exactly what he needed. He was about to complain about how inconvenient it is to carry his sword around. Concurrently, the sea iguana is still devouring the fish. He liked how the human-farmed fish tasted. Chu realized that it had grown 5 or 6 meters long and had gained over 500 evolution points. Suddenly, a fishing boat came across a floating tuna on the water. The men found it strange because those tuna had enough oxygen. When they saw the blood, they realized that something happened to the tuna. They were surprised when they were suddenly attacked and the boat broke. Meanwhile, at the villa, Chu allocated the attribute points that he has. He used 40 attribute points to strengthen his Kui sense and 60 points to strengthen his spring kick. He also had broken through to the moon step. His Kui sense had increased from 100 meters to 500 meters, and the moon step allows him to stay in the air for quite some time. While he was combing Xixi's hair, he watched the news where it reported that a black fog had appeared in the city. It covers hundreds of kilometers of the city and has caused the disappearance of over 50 people. He immediately thought that it was similar to the black tide. With that happening, he knew that peace won't last much longer. Concurrently, at the Sea of Aoding Island, there was a submarine, and inside it was the professor and a muscular man. The muscular man asked the professor how the research was going. The man replied that they have retrieved a special substance from the giant beast's body, and they even found how the beast heals itself. The lion-looking muscular man replied that with it, they can create extraordinary humans. They will also be able to control even the largest beasts. Eventually, they alighted the submarine and entered the cave while carrying a box. It was a miniature power plant, and when they entered the cave, there was a dragon with a sword lodged on its stomach, and this gigantic creature was placed in a capsule. The researchers were informed that the installation has been completed. The power supply has been connected too. One researcher stated that the core's power has entered the beast's body, and the beast has recovered. The beast is wise enough to know that the metal collar on it is enough to kill it. With that said, they expect it to be obedient now. Another researcher was impressed with this professor named Kant because he's smarter than Einstein. They watched the monster. Professor Kant claimed that it was a success, and they could expect it to wake up soon. Chu saw that they were trying to resuscitate the giant beast. He judged that they should die instead. He stepped inside. The researchers paced when they saw the sea iguana that is like Godzilla. Professor Kant ordered it to shoot it. Then he called a researcher named Sugimoto and told him that they would head back to the submarine. The other men fired at it, but it had no effect. Professor Kant and Sugimoto ran towards the submarine. They were so terrified. The attack caused the dust to cover the area, and when it settled, they saw that the large creature was unharmed. They couldn't believe it since it's a 24mm armor, piercing round, and an exploding bullet. People use those weapons in civil wars. Chu realized that the humans were weak. He used an ultrasonic roar and killed those men through his flames. Meanwhile, Sugimoto rushed inside the submarine. Chu saw them running away. He breathes fire towards their direction. Then he checked the creature in the capsule. He had confirmed that it really resuscitated. He could feel its terrifying aura. He keeps his distance while he attacks it. He was about to release a lightning beam. The creature tried to beg him to stop, but he electrocuted it. With that, he discovered a damaged ancient reason. He still absorbed it. At a random cafe, Chu was on the couch when the system informed him that his clone had rested. He gained +5 evolution points and +0.5 on physique. He realized that he can just get stronger from resting after absorbing the damaged reason. Suddenly, he received a message. Changqian invited him for lunch. He told her that he'll pick her up at 11 tomorrow. After that, he went through the teleportation door and battled with a flying monster. He used a powerful sword that could even rip a tank to shreds. He had killed a 4th-tier demonic creature and gained 50 attribute points. He was slightly disappointed because he thought it was at least 5th tier. He used his senses and arrived at the location of a giant worm-like creature. He was caught off guard when it damaged his armor. Because of that, he allocated 50 attribute points to strengthening his armor. The ground shattered when he used a powerful force to leap high. He was about to swing his sword, but the creature had put up an energy wall. Eventually, he was able to slash it. He had killed a 6th-tier demonic creature and gained 200 attribute points. He allocated 100 points to strengthening his external QI, then another 100 points to strengthen his crimson flame. With that, the temperature on his flame increased from 3,000 to 10,000 degrees. The distance of his attacks also increased to 30 meters. He was pleased to know that he could take out 1 dragonfly with each strike. He checked his stats. Then, after that hunting session, he summarized what he can do. His external QI increases his power. He has Exterminating Flame for his Ohko move. He has Crimson Flame for long-distance move, and his QI Sense for sensing around him. And he also has various demon-repelling armors and weapons. His next step is to train up Collapsing Punch, Sky Step, and his control over electricity and lightning. The next day. At the rooftop, there were 3 people gossiping. They saw Qian and commented that even her couldn't withstand the allure of a fancy car. Qian asked Chu what they would eat. She promised to treat him. He suggested having seafood. They arrived at the restaurant and he started ordering. She felt nervous because the order was over 70,000, while her budget was only 10,000. The price was already 3 months of her living expenses and allowance. She told him that she only has 10,000 and suggested that he lends her money and she'll pay it back later. Chu told her that there's no need for that since he'll cover the bill. She asked him if he opened a seafood company. On top of that, she hears that he doesn't come to school often because of his job. She told him that being a businessman suits him. He replied that it wasn't the case, and the reason why he doesn't go to school is because he was busy slaying monsters and leveling up. In reality, he had no time to manage his company. She thought that he was talking about a game. He remained silent while thinking that if the apocalypse happens, he doesn't know if he'll still be able to enjoy such luxury. After eating, they went to a luxury goods store. Changqian felt overwhelmed. Chu did express that he wanted to go shopping, but she didn't expect him to shop at LV, a luxury store. Chu had spent 80,000 for a meal and around 20 to 30,000 on clothes. It was too much for her. She realized that she couldn't even buy one of his buttons with her living allowance of 2,000 a month. He held her hand as he offered to buy her new clothes. She felt slightly offended that he grabbed her hand. In her head, Chu thinks of her as easy. Chu paid for it all through his card. The lady at the cashier recognized him. She remembered that the girl he came with before was pretty, but now, after a month, he's with another prettier girl. Chen Qian couldn't believe that he spent $30,000 worth of clothes, and it's only the first time they met. She saw how it was like to spend money like water. She wondered if he's going to bring her to a hotel next. It made her nervous. At the same time, at a nearby gym, a monster appeared. Chu had sensed it. He told Chen Qian that something came up, so he needed to send her back to school at once. She realized that she must have been overthinking. Chu could tell something was off, especially when a tear in space appeared nearby. Sometime later, he checked the gym. He realized that it was still the real world, and yet a polluting aura has appeared. He found the creature on a narrow path. It attacked him. But he blasted its head with a single kick. It was a low-level polluted monster which earned him 0.5 attribute points. He learned that it was just polluted and not demonic, just like the dark elf from before. A few hours later, the corpse of the monster he defeated was investigated. The chief officer wanted to use the polluted individual to see if the team's hard work had paid off, and yet someone killed it before they could. They could tell that it was done by someone who can control fire. The chief officer questioned, since when did someone who can control fire appear in their city? Chu watched the news where it was reported that an immense number of tears in space have appeared in their world. They could tell that the apocalypse is coming. Our MC learned that the 99-year apocalypse had arrived. In the past 20 years, over 500,000 citizens have died on that battlefield. He stated that those people had paid for 20 years of peace with their blood, and now they entered an era that belongs to ordinary people. He sent information about the apocalypse to his grandfather, but he doesn't think it's enough. He knew that if he wanted more information, he needed to go to the Special City Bureau. Meanwhile, the sea iguana battles with a larger sea creature. That creature could turn water into heavy water. But it was still useless to Chu. He electrocuted it. He could imagine the points that he'll be getting once he eats that sea creature. Concurrently, at the branch office of the Specialty Bureau, the students were chilling in a room. One of them stated that whoever killed that polluted monster yesterday was better than them. They speculated that it's a normal citizen who has awakened. The pink-haired woman thought of a familiar person who could do that. The chief officer entered the room and told them that someone had logged an evolved individual in the afternoon. He told them to take a look. It was Chu. He wore a black suit with blue lining. Roya remembered that it was the guy who's driving a luxury car in school. The pink-haired woman was happy to see him, and the chief officer finally found his suspect. He told Chu that if he wanted his evolution to be registered, he had to take a test. He showed him a machine that would measure his speed and power. Chu was okay with it. The machine that they will use can display up to 150,000 kilograms of force, so the chief officer encouraged him to hit it with all his might. The students wondered among themselves how strong Chu could be. Since he killed a polluted, they estimate him to be at least 3 stars. Roya thinks he would be at least 4, though. One guy doesn't believe her. The one with the glasses noticed that Chu was confident that he could break the equipment. A black-hair guy replied that it's such a joke because their captain has 5 stars and yet he's only 10,000. Chu punched it and garnered a score of 12,186 kilograms. He didn't mean to overdo it. The students now believe that he deserves 5 stars. The chief officer informed him that he had reached the standard of 5 stars. He can collect 50,000 wen at the Special City Bureau every month. If he's willing to join them, he'll be paid more, and he will be promoted to vice head. Chu refused the offer since he prefers to be independent. Then the Chief Guan asked him if he was the one who killed the polluted monster yesterday. He replied, yes. With him having the power over flame too, Guan expressed that he's too strong, almost the same as the awakened individuals he saw back in the day. And with his talent, he might be taken on by the fighting god Jiang as a disciple if he joins the Bureau. Chu realized that the fighting god Jiang is what humans see as the ceiling of possibility. To him, his priority is to keep his giant lizard a secret, and he also has ways to get stronger. With that, he declined the offer. After that, there was an N-City Special Bureau announcement that was made. They celebrated N-City's first evolved individual. Chu was classified as level 5, with extraordinary strength and blue-colored flame. He's the first among all evolved civilians. There were a lot of comments about it. Tianrui had read it, and he immediately called Chu. He didn't expect it, and given their friendship, he requested him to take care of him in the future. Chu just laughed it off. After the news, even the classmates that he hadn't seen in years called to congratulate him. He had gotten so many calls already, but he enjoyed the feeling of being a god amongst men. After eating the giant whale, the giant lizard had become 90 meters long, and his physique increased by 1,800 points. His strength also increased from 29 tons to 70 tons. And with his armor, he knew he could take on an armor-piercing round. If he is compared to other evolved individuals, he would be at least level 7 or 8. Chu knew that a 7-star rating should be the max that any awakened individual can hit, and yet there's still a definite gap in power between that and the 10-star fighting gods. Chu could feel that in a peaceful world, even if his powers were to increase every day, if he doesn't have an equally strong opponent. There is an unshakable sense of emptiness. But everything had changed since the apocalypse had come, and horrifying monsters have stepped through space-time towards their world. And now, they're countless powerful awakened individuals, evolved individuals, and gods of war who would fight. That made our MC a little bit excited. Chu is aware that with the rate he's growing, he'll be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with those gods before long. He was even determined to surpass them and become an even more powerful being. But then, his phone rang. It was messages from his workers, congratulating and celebrating him. He replied that they'll become like that one day too. He just got ahead. Nian replied that she wanted to evolve into an angel. Ling Yu replied that they can't control what they will evolve into, and she might become a toad. Chu laughed at their banter. He teased them that they shouldn't slack off while on the clock. Those 3 girls smiled at his message and replied, yes, at the warehouse. Chu took out his sword, and he puts on his armor. Then he informed Zixi that they will be going in. She made the door appear, and informed Chu that it's already open. Chu told her to wait for him there while he took a look inside. He stepped in. He could already tell that something was off. He wondered if the door brings them to a new place every time they open it. If they want to be sure of the world that lies behind the door, Zixi has to keep it open. But it worries him since a monster might learn about the door's existence. He recalled that a spider-like monster that he saw some time ago could have already learned where the door is from the location that he vanished, and it had sent a sausage-like monster over to chase him. Once they closed the door, it would bring them to another location when they opened it again, and he wanted to explore the previous location again. But he also thinks that a randomly generated world isn't bad either. The system notified him that the extremely high temperatures there will kill most living beings in seconds. But his crimson flames can offset the burning effect of the high temperatures, and with a stroke of luck, the warm wind even feels kind of refreshing. Then the system informed him that his body is being affected by the polluting substances in there. But his body's immunity has succeeded in temporarily blocking the effect of the polluted substances. His resistance would last for 15 hours. He realized that it doesn't matter how resilient his body is, it seems that it can't completely resist the effects of the pollution. He could imagine that those awakened individuals and war gods would be completely unaffected. He didn't dwell on that and proceeded on exploring the world. He used his key sense and waited if he'll sense something. But there's not a trace of life or any monsters. He learned that the place is completely barren. It wasn't a surprise to him since such a hellish environment isn't suitable to live in. He decided to make Zixi another door. But as he was making his way back, he sensed something. A black shadow figure had attacked him, but he immediately slashed it. Chu's attack didn't do any damage. It was a poisonous smoke monster with level 3 difficulty. He didn't even notice that it was there. He knew that the world has got something to do with it. The monster attacked again, but it crashed on Chu's barrier. Chu realized that he didn't fail to pick up on them. It was just that those creatures aren't alive. And since it is a filthy monster, he has to use the evil spirit repelling thunder to destroy it. The monster was caught off guard when Chu started releasing lightning from his body. Chu made an electric arrow and fired it. The monster was hit directly at its torso, then it slowly disintegrated. The system informed him that he had killed a 3rd-tier strange monster and had obtained 20 stat points. That monster was new to him. He evaluated that it looked powerful, but its special ability wasn't a good match against physical attacks. He couldn't harm it using his sword. And since it was born out of lava, fire attacks were also useless. He felt lucky to have a talent that counters it. If not, it would have been extremely difficult for him. He saw something on his peripherals. He was surprised to learn that it was Zixi. He immediately ran to her and reminded her to wait at the door since it's dangerous there. Zixi expressed that she was worried for him since it's dangerous. Chu let it go as he realized that the world outside the door might not even be safe either. He told her to stay far behind him and she shouldn't move under any circumstances. She agreed to it and made herself invisible. Chu was back in fighting mode. He used his Chui sense again, but there was nothing. Until the ground he's on caved in. He moved quickly. He jumped through the rocks to reach a safe ground. He kept going. He reached the tallest boulder. And when he checked his surroundings, the rocks were placed strategically, as if it was a building. But with the seal on those, it was more like a prison, and it could hide a huge monster's aura. He realized that it might be the real hidden treasure in that world. It was a true dragon named Vandenfeld, fiery wings tied on the rocks. Chu couldn't even imagine what stats it would have. The dragon called him foolish for challenging him without even a care for their lives. The dragon told him that it's his world, and it decided to be merciful to the intruder by giving him two choices. One is he will be buried there, but of course there won't be any ash left to bury. And the other is that he would become his servant. And as long as he kneels and recognizes its power, he will live. Without hesitation, Chu replied that he doesn't want anything to do with him, except that he's interested in his bones. It angered the dragon. It started flapping its wings, and the monsters jumped out of the lava. Chu sensed them and commented that poisonous smoke monsters were impressive at first. Then he realized that if he agreed to be the dragon's servant, he would end up like that. The dragon ordered to kill him and pull his corpse into the river of lava. Chu watched them approach. Then he thought of something. He released lightning and electrocuted them all. The dragon was confused that his servants were gone in an instant. Chu realized that having a black dragon as a pet would be interesting. He suggested that the dragon would be his servant instead. That made the dragon angry. It called him an idiot. The ground started to shatter. Chu gripped his sword. While the dragon roared loudly, he attacked using flash. He scratched the side of the neck of the dragon, and it bled. The dragon became so furious, and it vowed to send him to hell. Its breath turned into flames, and it unleashed a dragon's hellfire. Chu activated his crimson flame. That shielded him from the flames. Then he teased the dragon if that's all it can do. So Vandenfeld inhaled deeply. It told Chu to burn to ashes. Then it unleashed a powerful fire breath. The area was covered with smoke. The dragon boasted that in his world, no one has been able to withstand even a second of his hellfire. Within the smoke, Chu replied that he thought the dragon was actually powerful, but it was just an oversized hairdryer. The dragon was surprised to find him unscathed. He gathered energy in his mouth. Chu charged towards it and smacked its jaw. The dragon released the fire towards his direction. Chu was back on the ground. He told the dragon that he has an extraordinary power over flame and the power of a monster emperor's armor, so he's well protected against fire. He could easily ignore the heat from the dragon. The dragon realized that he was immune to his fire. He finds it interesting. It decided to attack using its teeth. It tried to eat him, but Chu evaded the attack. Then he landed on the dragon's back and pierced it with his sword. Then he released lightning. But unexpectedly, his sword got stuck. That got our MC to think something out. He forcefully took it out. Then he jumped down from the dragon. He noticed that it changed its color to red. The dragon told him that his efforts were useless. Chu opened his armament. He's showing the little move he learned from Fiery Wing's bloody explosion. His body slightly transformed. The dragon was even more annoyed now that he dared to steal his power. Chu attacked, and with one swing of his sword he cut the dragon, and its head tumbled. The system notified him that he had killed a 5th-tier dragon-type demon and obtained 1,000 stat points. With that, their game was over. Cixi disabled her invisibility. She expressed that Chu was so powerful that the dragon ended up dead. Chu realized that it's the effect of having 4,000 stat in his physique. He admitted that it was too powerful, that it was already scary, and he only even used 10% of his QE. He expects his natural recovery to cancel that out. His slight transformation was undone. He called his new skill Bloody Explosion Type 1. Chu started seeing the important parts of the dragon like the scales, teeth, flesh, even the lava-like blood can all be an extraordinary material. He estimated that the head alone would be worth at least 100 million to the government. But there was just one issue. There was no way for him to explain how he got the head. If he says he killed it alone, it would expose him to be a powerful person worthy of 6th or 7th tier. He helped Cixi come down from the dragon's head. Chu decided to keep the head for now. He had exchanged 200 attributes for storage space. The dragon head has been stored. He used 400 attribute points to strengthen his intuition so he could see more between the lines. The system notified him that he successfully strengthened his intuition, and he had obtained a high-level intuition. The aura of the monster cannot be hidden from him, and inanimate objects can also be detected. Then he spent 400 attribute points to strengthen the intimidation of his armor. That was successful too. He was happy about it. His body exudes power. The system notified him that he had awakened King's intimidation. There was a rumor that it can cause a person to tremble in fear, and even a mere eye contact can render them completely powerless. Our MC just gained the power to use the Conqueror's haki. He sighed, and made the aura disappear. He planned to use that to clear out the fishes. Meanwhile, at our country's long-distance fishing ship, the crew on board were happy that something got on the hook. They pulled out a net and saw that they caught some fish, but it was odd how few there were. But it didn't matter as long as it's alive. Suddenly, they saw something. It seemed like there's something on the sea. A portion of the sea had lightning. Then it exploded, launching a school of fish into the air. It was raining fish, and the fishermen were so happy. The giant lizard ate some of it. Then it dove deep under the sea. Chu realized that the king's intimidation made the lizard's oppression even stronger. Nothing could move in its area of effect. There was a crackling sound when he emits lightning. He combined his flames and electricity to fly. Humans had always yearned for the skies. And as long as he combines the power of electricity and fire, he can be free of gravity's confines. He soared into the sky. While he was roaming around, he saw something. There was infrastructure up ahead. His intuition tells him that there are unexplored places in the world. He could tell that even the dragon who ruled that world was oblivious of other places' existence. Firewing is only the magic dragon that has been imprisoned there, but he could tell that there's a higher power that is trying to imprison it. He decided to check on what's going on. He arrived at the ruins of the Kingdom of Giants. There were carvings on the walls. Chu learned that there used to be a dragon civilization there. He got curious on what they were worshipping. Then he saw the door. He could tell it was extremely dangerous, but the only way for him to learn everything is going into it. When he entered, the path was lined with statues of dragons. Fiery Wing, the dragon that he killed, has a statue in there too. The system notified him that the pollution in the area has strengthened. He was temporarily immune to the pollution due to his strong physique. But in 3 hours, his physique will be weakened and he will be affected by the pollution. His intuition was right that something strange was in the temple. It hasn't even shown its true self, and yet it's already causing so much pollution. He yelled at it to stop hiding because he knew it was there. His voice echoed, and that caught him off guard. And then something moved so fast that it only left a trail of light. It attacked him, but he was able to deflect its attack using his sword. He asked who it was. When it revealed itself, it was a human body with 4 arms, and it was faceless. It spoke that a venerable one had awakened. The creature's face was pitch black with a single red eye mark on it. It looked so creepy that Chu was left speechless. Then, the creature stretched out its hand and uttered one word: eternity. Chu immediately felt something was wrong. He stabbed his sword into the ground, forming a barrier to block the incoming attack. That's when it hit him. He wasn't just facing a 6th-tier monster. He was sure. This was a 7th-tier monster. The creature demanded that he worship and surrender. A powerful force began pulling him down, trying to force him to kneel. But that triggered something in Chu. With a loud roar, he pushed back using his full strength. The ground shook as debris flew in every direction. An explosion erupted from the pressure. Our MC suddenly transformed. He vowed to kill the monster. The monster watched coldly, then unleashed a skill called Blood Explosion, Form 1. Chunks of debris flew toward our MC. Chu slashed them all down with lightning speed. Not a single one touched him. His movements were sharp, fast, and precise. Then he spun his sword in a blur, blocking a barrage of rocks. In a flash, he moved again and countered. With blinding speed, he sliced through the monster's limbs. Then he landed on the ground, thinking it was over. But to his shock, the monster reappeared behind him, placing 2 fingers at the back of his head. It sneered and called him a disgusting ant. A massive explosion followed. The area was swallowed by smoke and chaos, but then, the monster was stunned. Chu appeared right in front of him. His face was covered in flames. The monster quickly backed away. Then it began charging energy in all 4 of its hands. Chu sliced a pillar in half, then dashed toward the monster. He slashed through its torso, but it was only an illusion. The real monster was hiding behind it. Thinking it had tricked Chu, the monster let its guard down when a sword pierced through its chest. Our MC had already anticipated the move and stabbed it from behind. He then uttered Blood Explosion, Form 2. The monster then grabbed his arm and called him arrogant. Then it triggered an explosion. Chu's sword pierced the ground. He realized it was only slowing him down, so he chose to fight with his bare hands. Excited, he charged in again. The monster created a protective barrier, but Chu didn't care. He just punched right through it. The whole area exploded. The monster crashed on the ground. Just right after that, it was blasted away. A crack formed on its face. Chu ran towards it at the speed of light. He came close to its head. Then he grabbed it and pushed it down to the ground. The impact shattered the area, and dust scattered everywhere. Little did he know, the monster was behind him, and it had set its eyes on him. It used the skill entrap. Chu turned around when he sensed it, but the ground beneath him shattered. Then chains were wrapped around him. It restricted his movement. The system informed him that the dragon sealing formation can absorb the energy of the item it has sealed and use it to strengthen itself. The monster told him that the more he tries, the harder it will be to escape his binds. Chu asked if that is how he bound the dragons. Chu yanked at the chains and expressed that it's a pity that it wasn't quite good enough to seal him. Our boy concentrated and focused his energy. He pulled the chains while stating that he's different from those dumb dragons. He eventually broke free. His body exudes flames. He told the monster to listen. Then he told it his name. "My name Is Chen? Chu! The monster watched him. Chu stood tall while the monster floated in the air. Our boy then took a step. The force from his body made the ground shatter. Flames wrapped around his leg. Then he disappeared. He floated in the sky too, and got ready to punch the monster. He approaches it quickly, but when his fist was about to land, the monster ducked. He chased after it, and this time, his punch landed, causing it to be blasted away. He electrocuted it too, causing its limbs to tear. The monster was falling. Chu rushed towards it and gave it a powerful punch. It hit the ground with a powerful impact. The dust slowly settled. The monster stared at Chu, who was looming over it. He made a hole in its chest when he took its heart because he wanted its power. The system notified him that the crimson flame had ascended to become glass crimson flame. Also, lightning has ascended to become a swift thunderstorm. He also obtained a dragon sealing talisman. It can bind beings below the 6th tier. The system also notified him that he had overexerted himself. He had been 99% polluted by the strange pollution. Zixi ran to him and told him that pollution was dangerous. Chu explained that he fought for too long, so the pollution got worse. He knew he couldn't stay there any longer. He flew to get back. Without the Exalted One's protection, the world of dragons and giants began to fall apart. The world was in chaos, so they ran towards the door. Zixi was almost near it, but Chu had stopped as he laid there on the ground. He couldn't move anymore. Zixi told him that the door was closed. Chu coughed blood. He knew that once it closed, it lost its connection to the other world. They had no idea where it would open next. Zixi got worried for him. He assured her that he's fine. He accepted the price to pay for power. Although the blood explosion seems like just an explosion of pure power, only someone with an insanely powerful person would be able to withstand it. If a normal person used even type 1 of it, their blood would be vaporized in an instant, leaving behind a withered corpse. Chu realized that to break through to type 3, he needed to increase his physique even more. He tried to stand up. Since the teleportation door had already closed, he decided to rest for now. Meanwhile, at the ruins of the palace in the land of giants, the monster's corpse lay motionless in a crater. Judging by the damage, there was no way it should have survived. But suddenly, it took a sharp breath. Then, it stood up. It looked disoriented at first, then shot up into the sky. Elsewhere, a soldier reported that at 35 degrees north, about 1,200 meters away, a group of 5th-tier polluted monsters had appeared. He requested artillery support. The monsters began crawling out from a deep crease in the ground. The military forces responded. This was somewhere near Case City. Missiles were launched in waves. There were 6 minutes left before the second volley. They hoped the monsters wouldn't run off before then. One of the soldiers told the other to relax. He pointed out that the monsters were eating their own kind and hadn't moved from their position. Seth, the leader of the 3-man unit, asked for the pollution level. Mark checked and replied, 15.5%. Mark estimated that they could hold the monsters off for 8 hours. Seth nodded and said, "That's enough time to bring it back." The bald man with them commented that the 7 5th-tier monster corpses would sell for a good price. Even if the bodies were incomplete, they were still worth a lot. Mark replied that they should use the money to increase their strength. He added that even if only a third of the monsters remained, he'd still be happy. Seth told them to focus on the blessings instead. They watched the explosions go off one after another. They all knew that without the base's support, any one of those monsters, if at full strength, could easily kill them. Seth said it was time to get to work. Tyler, the bald man, and Mark would help him retrieve the monster corpses. Seth expected they could extract at least 5 bottles of purifying energy. He planned to keep 3 and sell the remaining 2. They knew that on the black market, each bottle was worth around 200 million. With that money, they could live like kings, at least for a while. Then, without warning, a massive creature appeared. It looked just like the one Chu had fought earlier. The 3 men were stunned. They looked like ants compared to it. Mark's system picked up a spike in pollution levels, but before he could even finish his sentence, his head was sliced off. Seth screamed, "Run!" Tyler was crushed in an instant. Seth ran with everything he had. The monster spotted him fleeing and locked onto him. Suddenly, Seth's eyes and ears began to bleed. Then, his entire body exploded. At the same time, in M Country's Apocalypse base, a report came in. An apocalyptic event had begun. As a result, they activated their highest-level defenses. The goal, eliminate all major threats for the survival of humanity. A rocket was then launched. It flew into outer space and detonated near the giant creature that had just wiped out Seth and his team. All of this happened while Chu was still peacefully asleep. Chu eventually woke up and got out of bed. He went to knock on Zixi's door to let her know it was time for breakfast. Still half asleep, Zixi opened the door and asked Chu for a hug. Our MC savored the moment. He hugged her. and she immediately fell back asleep in his arms. While carrying her, the doorbell rang. A woman stood at the door. She wore a Speedy Takeaways jacket, the one with the slogan, "Chasing Hunger Away." She told Chu his food had arrived. This woman was Huangfu Ziyan. Chu opened the door while still holding Shikshi. Ziyan greeted him and handed over the bag. Our MC then noticed her motorcycle. He commented that it was the first time he'd seen a woman delivering takeout at dawn on a $100,000 motorcycle. She fired back, saying she'd never seen someone living in a luxury mansion, ordering takeout every day, and with a child, no less. Chu felt like she knew him a little too well, and gave off a dangerous aura. She dropped the bag in surprise. A chill ran down her spine when she realized who he was, the first person of the new generation of evolved beings. She suddenly got very excited about meeting him in person. Chu found her behavior strange and asked what she was doing here. She unzipped her jacket and confidently said she was there to pursue him. Chu was stunned. He was speechless as she repeated that her plan was to pursue him. She headed back to her bike, but before leaving, she told him to remember her name and mentioned she lived nearby. She promised to see him again on his next order. After she left, Tianru arrived with some news. Chu replied that the Special Investigation Bureau always rushes in when pollution starts spreading. Tianru disagreed, saying they couldn't compare to Chu, because Chu answers to no one. That, he explained, is exactly why people are trying to figure out whose side Chu is on. Chu asked what he meant. Tianru realized Chu hadn't heard the latest news. He explained that as of yesterday, most of the properties near the mountain had changed hands. Chu had become so well known that the land value tripled. Now, all the rich people in the city were fighting to move closer to him. They claimed they wanted his help, but in truth, they were after his resources. Tianru knew that Chu could have anything: money, influence, women. As long as he was willing to help when the monsters arrived. Chu gave it some thought. Tianru didn't blame the rich folks. After all, they were just businessmen. They simply wanted to invite Chu for a meal, which was why Tianru came to see him. Chu agreed to the invitation. Tianru was pleased. He reminded Chu to stick to his word and told him they'd meet at Lin Shu's Supreme Hotel that afternoon. Then Tianru remembered Ziyan, the girl from earlier. He asked Chu if he knew her. Chu replied casually, saying she suddenly showed up and said she was going to pursue him. Tianru chuckled. He knew she could be a bit much. She was young and bold, and when she wanted something, she went after it without hesitation. Still, he warned Chu to be careful. Her backer is Huang Futai, the richest man in N City. News spread across the world. It was about the worsening global pollution. Z country had deployed its most advanced equipment to reduce pollution levels. For now, peace and order had been restored. Other headlines followed. Y village had been invaded by monsters and polluted. Hundreds were killed in the attack. In our country, a temple was polluted by the vengeful spirit of a woman who had been buried alive by monks. She turned into a terrifying monster and killed 20 people. There was also a report that Z country had begun addressing the apocalyptic event from 20 years ago. They had developed a perfect defense system and stockpiled essential resources. Because of this, Z country has officially become the safest city in the world. With global tension rising, countless wealthy individuals were flocking to Z country, but many got stuck at the border due to overcrowding. A black market even emerged, selling so-called calamity-avoiding contracts. At Ningcheng University, Qianqian was busy practicing her foreign language skills. One of Qianqian's classmates asked her why they were still putting so much effort into studying when the apocalypse might be right around the corner. The girl wondered aloud if she'd even get a chance to work for a multinational company after graduation, or if she'd end up just being a translator. But with the current state of the world, those thoughts didn't matter much anymore. No one knew if they'd even survive the coming days. She joked about maybe just finding a powerful guy to marry instead. That made Qianqian think of Chu, a 5-star awakened individual with the extraordinary power to control flame. He was incredibly famous, even more so than some celebrities. Online discussions about him could fill thousands of pages, although he also had plenty of haters. Her friend turned to her and asked, "So, what's going on between you two?" She even teased, asking if they had slept together. Qianqian's face turned red. Chu was powerful, gifted, and good-looking, the total package. There was nothing to complain about. At school, they had pretended to be in a relationship. But now, Qianqian found herself questioning her true feelings. Just as she was thinking about him, Chu called. She politely excused herself to answer the phone. Qianqian answered the call and asked why Chu was calling. Chu asked if she was free that afternoon. He had made a lunch reservation and wanted her to come. She said yes. Meanwhile, at Huang Futai's villa, Futai asked Ziyan if she had seen Chu. She nodded and said yes. He asked how the meeting went. Ziyan replied that Chu knew she was investigating him, and when he's focused, he can be intimidating, like he's not someone to be taken lightly. She stated that he's a guy who's capable of being a king. Futai replied that it looks like her previous father's investment was right. She told him that if he wants to buy Chu with a few millions, it won't happen. Futai argues that he's just a brat while he's an old guy with tons of business experience, so there's no chance that Chu would outsmart him. She reasoned that the world has changed. She told him that money isn't always a solution, but power is. He couldn't understand her, so he assumed that she already liked him despite meeting him just once. He asked her what she told him. She clarified that she's chasing him not because of him, but because she wanted something from him. That's because she simply liked him. Futai asked if she's serious. She replied yes because he made her feel something. He got angry since all the powerful families from N City, H, and even S City have their eyes on her. And he knew exactly how they manipulate others. He stated that it could be through money, women, power. He believes that any human wants and emotions can be used. He knew that those wealthy people just wanted to get their hands on Chu and make him serve them. He told her daughter that she's too naive to fight with them. She confidently replied that a way to a man's heart is through their stomach. Her father agreed. Then he questioned if she plans to learn cooking. In his head, he knew that his daughter is famous for being slightly crazy, and now that she likes a man, she decided to change herself for him. A plus factor is that she's pretty. With all those things, he could tell that she could capture his heart. Xian stated that she swore off cooking since she nearly burned down her old house several times. Futai asked what she planned to do. She showed him the tagline on her jacket. Her plan is to deliver takeout to him only. She used his name to start a takeout company. He was dumbfounded. She knew about Chu's properties like his old rental house, the warehouse, and even the villa. And she also knew that he always relies on delivery for his food, even breakfast. So she searched for someone who could take his phone and download a delivery app. So when he places an order, she'll know it, and she could send it to him personally. Futai couldn't believe it. This ridiculous idea was giving him a heart attack, while she's confident that Chu would be soon touched by her sincerity. Back to our MC, Chu drove his car. He went to the west gate of Ning University. His car caught the attention of the people. They wished that they were the one being picked up, but it was Chiang Kyun. He told her to get on. Some students at a distance looked at him with envy. One male student commented that they looked like trash when beside him. His friend told him not to let someone's ambition affect him, especially when they are all evolved, so he's certain that their group will be able to catch up to them. He believes that Chu was just ahead of them, and the department head even said that the three of them are the cream of the crop selected from the million people in N City. He added that Chu just got lucky. Lunzi, their other friend, was distracted. He blushed as he looked at the pretty girls. He was smacked at the back of his head while being told not to get distracted. Then the guy added that Chu was arrogant and the girls kept flocking to him. So, what's important for them at that moment was to get stronger. Linzu asked if they shouldn't tell Roya what they just saw. He's worried since Chu looks like he's got a girlfriend now. His friend knew he liked Roya, and Roya liked Chu. The student cheered for his friend by saying that he can fight fairly, and if he doesn't win, at least he'll be a true man. He added that talking people behind their back is not what a hero would do. Meanwhile, Chu drove fast. Chiang Kyan brought up the topic about the second apocalypse in 2 weeks. She asked him if he'll do anything about the monsters when the Special Tasks Bureau isn't able to handle them. He asked why she would suddenly ask that. She replied that there are a lot of people criticizing him on the internet saying that he's a coward. He asked if it's because he didn't join the Special Tasks Bureau. She told him that people say that he didn't join the Bureau because he couldn't face the monsters that will appear in 2 weeks. Chu replied that he's the first student in the country to have evolved, and naturally, there would be people who didn't like him. He admits that the crown of glory is heavy. She asked if there happens to be a monster powerful enough to turn the world upside down, and the Special Task Bureau becomes short-staffed, if he'd help them. He confidently replied that he will stand on the front lines with no hesitation. He explained that he didn't join the Bureau because he didn't want to be constrained by red tape. He didn't like reporting and being limited. Changkyan realized that the person she liked isn't a coward. They arrived at the hotel. Chu introduced himself. Changkyan was surprised to see the billionaires from top companies. A middle-aged man welcomed Chu. He stated that his useless son had already updated Chu on the situation. He replied that he knew the gist of it. Li Chenghong immediately talked about business. They wanted to ensure their security during the upcoming apocalypse, and they have decided to form a security council and would like to invite him as a chair. He explained that the security council was meant to protect them and ensure that the villas around the hill will not be damaged by polluted monsters. He added that since they are being protected, it is only natural that they would pay him 100 million a month. Changkyan was surprised with that amount. Chu replied that it doesn't sound bad at all. But he wanted that to be the price for each billionaire in the villas. He also wanted them to take charge of collecting the money from 30-plus billionaires living there. He's aware that if that amount was split up, one family would only need to cough up $1 million. But he's also aware that if those families joined the council, they would be charged with the joining fee too. He estimated it to be around 10 million or 100. Thus, those billionaires were making it a profitable business. Futai straight up asks him if he means to say that it's not enough payment. Chu said that during peaceful times, rich people stick together, use money to fix problems, and act superior. And now that the apocalypse has brought them off their horses in an instant, everyone is equally threatened by polluted monsters. He said there's no more difference between the rich and the poor, and that upsets those who spent their lives earning millions. He expressed that he understands them the best. Chung Hong explained that they only did that because a tear in space occurred a few nights ago, and the Bureau had to use nuclear weapons to drive the monsters back. If Chu agrees, he promised him 200 million. He expressed that the old folks just wanted to be able to sleep peacefully at night. Futai brought up the topic that Chung Hong's son is in the Special Tasks Bureau, so he's the most familiar with the efficiency of those slackers. He stated that if those guys are reliable, they wouldn't have that meeting. Futai offered Chu 300 million a month. As long as Chu agrees, he'd immediately send that to him straight from his pocket. Chu replied that money will become useless paper. He told them that after a few attacks, their cash will be reduced to a mere fire started. He demonstrated by burning the bill he's holding. They panicked when they heard that. They asked him what if he means that in 2 weeks, money would become useless. Chung Hong couldn't believe it because the officials said that the apocalypse was just a normal level. Chu had to point out that in the media reports, only the normal evolved individuals are being dispatched to face the attacks. That made Chung Hong contemplate. Then Chu prompted them to think as to why wasn't the Special Tasks Bureau able to dig out a 4-star awakened individual. It was because they are trying to suppress the 5 doors of the apocalypse, which means that the area they were on wasn't the real battlefield. The officials can't even take care of themselves, so they wouldn't be able to help them. Futai asked him what he wanted. He replied that he doesn't want money, but he wanted the special type of dirt produced in Jiulong, Baitai's specialized medicine, and a special gold plantain exports. The billionaires were left speechless. Then Chu stated that he wants to see the blueprints of the mountain's fortress in 3 days, and he wants to see defenses completed in 1 month. Chung Hong was confused. He questioned when the villas became a line of defense. Then it hits him. Chu explained that the villas around the mountain will be the center point. Using the geography of the mountain, it will be easy to defend. Even if the whole world faces an apocalypse event, the people there will be able to live for years, with airflow, electricity, ample space, clean water, food, and medicine. Once they have fulfilled his request, only then he will say yes, being a chair of the Security Council, and will swear to protect them. They realize now why he's the strongest person in the country. He is fearsome in strength and mind. They applauded him. Jiang Qian was impressed too. Qian Rui was amazed how he impressed them all. Chu replied that everyone will win in that scenario. Tian Rui brought up that his dad has stocks in the hotel, so he gave them a key card and urged them to go and have fun. He decided to leave first so he wouldn't get in their way. Chu told Jiang Qian that he had something to discuss with her, and they couldn't just waste Tian Ran's gift. She blushed and agreed to it. They entered the hotel. The room was a luxury executive suite. Chu removed his coat. He could tell that the space blocks all the noise. It has been shielded and signals can't leave there, nor could he be spied on. Jiang Qian said that they're too fast. Chu pats her head and asks her to be his girlfriend. He emits a bit of his power through his finger. He was cautious in controlling her energy because she's a normal person. After all, he's an extraordinary human with 4,000 or 5,000 physiques. He had her lay down. He's careful because the slightest carelessness will smash her body to bits. When his finger touched her body, she felt electrocuted. It left her unconscious. But Chu could see that her body is being melded with the energy and is slowly changing. There was no pollution or mutation, and all he could do was wait and see. He used the dragon sealing stamp to take a portion of the energy from the monsters that he had eaten and turn it into seeds, which when planted into a normal person, will cause them to evolve. It was a little dangerous, but he wanted her to evolve too. An hour ago. He told her that each wave of the apocalypse will only get stronger, and when that happens, he knew she wouldn't be able to finish college. She was puzzled about what she'll do if she can't study. She asked if she'll just keep running away from the monsters. He advised her to look towards herself for the answer. Then he asked if she wanted to be an evolved individual. She was shocked to learn that she could evolve too. It was her dream. He told her that he can use the dragon sealing stamp to crystallize a portion of monster power. Once her body has absorbed the energy of the crystal, she will be as powerful as if she had evolved. He also told her that if she can't control it, not only will she never evolve, she will become a monster herself. He asked her if she's willing to take the risk. She was silent. Then she replied that if he's the one doing it, she won't feel scared. And also, she wants to be independent too, so she can protect her mother and fight by his side. She never wanted to be a burden. Chu smiled. He instructed her not to move since it was his first time and he might have gotten to the wrong place. She replied that it was her first time too. On the screen, it was narrated that when the dust has settled, a superhero will take the stage. This superhero is the embodiment of strength itself, the fearless protector of the city. They called him the 4-star evolved Tian Long. With his shrinking body of metal, he will rend the darkness and destroy all danger. Each of his strikes is a step towards freedom. Each appearance of his strikes fear into the heart of evil. He is a true man that never turns to look at the explosion behind him because he knows that his true battle lies ahead. Everyone was encouraged to cheer for him and applaud him. That gives him the strength to forge the path onwards. The legend Tianlong was presented to everyone. That was the short film created for the Shenhui's City Special Task Bureau. It garnered several 100,000 followers on their app. It also featured the Jinghai City's Bureau's 5-star captain. The video was viral that it can make a few million without batting an eye, and they're easy too. Chu asked if they were made using special effects. The curly-haired woman replied that it wasn't entirely effective. The app can turn on filters with a single tap. It automatically makes the moves look even more powerful. She stated that apps like those need to help evolved individuals advertise themselves so that they can get the public's trust. That's why they have signed contracts with many special tasks, bureaus, and evolved individuals recently. And Chu was one of the celebrities that they wanted to sign a contract with, especially when the government recognized him as the first person of the new generation of evolved individuals. All they needed was for him to display his power, and they would use their package to advertise him. They expect his popularity will explode, and he'll have no problem finding sponsors. She showed him some of the sponsored videos. The first video showed a muscular man on a cup of instant noodles. The messaging was that if the people ate the superhuman instant noodles, they would become their hope in the fight against the apocalypse. And they will remain energetic, despite the pressure, once they eat it. The next ad is about an explosively bouncer sneakers that could outrun the capital costs of the apocalypse. It was made out of recycled materials, allowing the owner to leap past the monotony of everyday life and the work's KPI. The last one is a product called Absolute Defense, specially designed for use during the apocalypse. They used impenetrable materials on a nano level to help the user in managing their emotions and sickness. So regardless if it's a date or a casual thing, it will help the user fulfill their wish before the apocalypse. The video of this showed a naked man in bliss with a background of a large heart. The woman promised Chu that as long as he agreed to do live stream on their app and became a famous live streamer with millions of fans, they would meet whatever terms he wanted. Chu told her that he's not a celebrity. The woman asked him if he had no idea how popular he is. She told him that with his looks alone, there would be millions of female fans clamoring to become his followers, and as long as he shows his face on the fan group chat, he'd get any girl he wanted. That made him stop and think. Then he replied that he's not interested. He called his secretary to escort the woman out. She still didn't give up and offered him 100 million a year just for shooting an advertisement video. Chu gave a firm order to send her away. She yelled that they need a true hero, and it's something that only he can do. He ordered them to halt. She showed him M-City's superhuman Hulk, who can become a 5-meter-tall giant green ape in an instant. Once he's transformed, he's unstoppably powerful and immune to weapons. He can run 100 meters in a second and easily destroy tanks, and to the people of M-City, he is their god. She added that there's a superhuman in Y Country's army called Yali Shanda. His left hand can turn into a king's sword. A single video of him has been played 500 million times. They call him the Human Blade, and he's the city's legendary general. Additionally, there's a person who can turn themselves into flames in F-City, and someone who can freeze the air itself in D-City. A transformer in J-City who can stretch themselves like rubber and jump between buildings. And there's also someone who can turn themselves invisible. She reasoned that it is normal for ordinary people to be filled with fear and uncertainty in the face of apocalypse, and they need a true hero. A hero who can make them feel safe, and who can give them hope. She uttered that those heroes had become a symbol of their countries, and they needed something like that too. Chu considered it since increasing his sphere of control won't be a bad thing, especially when there are people criticizing him online. He declined the live stream but accepted filming a video. Mrs. Wang was delighted. They filmed the video where he was on top of the building, then he leapt down while the narration happened. It was narrated that his blade strikes with precision and grace, and he moves through the air in a deadly dance. As the narration continues, they call him a true hero that fights not for glory, but for every last life on Earth. The video showed him slashing a monster. Then he was described as the first evolved individual of the new generation and a fearless and legendary protector. In the N-City's Special Tasks Bureau. Those 4 men in the room watched Chu's video, and one of them got offended thinking that it was something like an apocalypse game made to toy with them. One of them commented that there's so much special effects that it doesn't look real anymore. Lunzi replied that there aren't any special effects. It was just exaggerated. Guan thinks that it's because Chu is more powerful than 5 stars, and he evolved to awaken. He could tell that the gap between them is getting wider, at a shrine somewhere. The monks greeted the great Tengu. The Tengu came out of the portal. He was followed by a woman. The woman is named Izanami. The monks were flustered, but they also greeted her. She asked them if they had discovered the cubs of the ancient beast. The monk leader replied that the giant beast was near our city's sea, but it was M-City who first discovered it. He explained that according to national law, the resources from such a beast should belong to all of mankind, but the one who has discovered it was prioritized. In the end, they could only get 30% of the resources. She doesn't believe in international law and suggested that if they were to kill it first, then all of its resources would be controlled by them. In another setting, a submarine traverses the ocean. Divers went out. It was M County's Poseidon assault team. They saw huge footprints on the seabed. They were shocked when they found the whale monster with a 20-meter-long skull. It was gigantic. Then their machine read that there's 46 SV radiation, and the source of it came from deep inside the cave. Little did they know our boy's Godzilla was there lurking. One of the divers got spooked. He asked the others if they heard it. Then his machine beeped again. The man got nervous when it felt strange. The radiation count kept increasing. It eventually reached 1,000 sieverts. They knew there's no way it would go that high unless they are near a nuclear waste site. Chu's giant lizard saw them. The radiation increased to 1,500. A man asked what that creature in front of them was. Meanwhile, at Sea Fun City's haunted house, the chief officer scolded the staff after finding out that someone had disappeared, and they didn't immediately file a police report. The staff replied that he just thought that a tourist had just gotten lost. It hadn't been 24 hours since he sent some people to search nearby. He got nervous with the chief's threatening aura. The chief concluded that the man was afraid that it would affect his business. The man was speechless. The chief pointed out that there are 3 people who disappeared in the evening, plus 1 yesterday and the day before that. In total, 5 people were swallowed up by the haunted house. He told them that the Special Task Bureau will handle it. A few moments later, one of them detected pollution, but strangely it was gone before they entered the haunted house. Their captain replied that it's likely because they are dealing with a strange monster, so it absorbed all the polluted energy within its domain. One of them questioned if the themed room is on the map that the director gave them. Talismans flew around. Out of nowhere, a woman appeared, upside down, right in front of their face. The scared man hit it with a stick. It was just a doll, and it broke. The black-haired woman teased him. He admitted that he thought it was just an actual ghost. Their captain saw that the source of pollution was getting closer. Unexpectedly, something exploded behind them. Lunzi defended them from a chainsaw attack of a large man. The attacker stepped back. Their captain recognized that it was a 3-star strange monster, which had its attacks and defenses strengthened. Plus, it has extreme regeneration abilities too. He was about to say its weakness, but one of his teammates jumped ahead and attacked it. He thinks he's an idiot. Then he yelled at him that it was the head. The guy got distracted. He knew he fucked up. He reiterated that the weak point is the head. At this point, the stick was stuck at the chest of the attacker. Someone took out a gun and shot it on the head. It was the black-haired woman. She expressed her disappointment that it was killed by a single shot. The guy took out his stick weapon while pouting. Then he reasoned that he restricted its movements, that's why she could shoot it. The captain made them settle down by emphasizing that they are a team, and it was great that everyone worked together. Lunzi ordered them to check the perimeter. He suggested that if there are no other sources of pollution, they should go back to report to the captain. When they met the chief, they all looked ashamed and sad. The chief pointed out that there's a fatal flaw in the way they work together. He scolded Dan Hao for acting without waiting for their leader, Li Zongwen's instructions. He asked if he thinks he's smarter than the leader. Hao felt bad, and he replied, no. Then the chief scolded Zongwen, since he handled scheduling and reconnaissance well, but he just sits and watches when danger comes. He reminded him that he's part of the team first, before he's a leader. Zongwen apologized and admitted that he should have provided more assistance. He admits that if he only stays on the sidelines, he'd be sacrificing the lives of his team. The next one who was called was Peng Lun. He was asked who he should protect with his shield. He replied that it should be his teammates. Then the chief asked him if Roya is his only teammate. Then the chief reminded him that, in a fight, no one cares about his personal feelings and that he must protect every single teammate. Next up was Roya, whom the chief called careless since she doesn't have a sense of danger. While the black-haired woman was scolded for firing without even thinking when her teammate was in close combat with a monster, he questioned them on where the courage came from. He told them that it isn't a game and one small mistake, and they will all die. He lectured them that everyone has to take responsibility for their teammates, so they will all be able to leave alive. Once he was done with scolding, he admits that their second mission could have been worse. He knew that with their current strength, they are capable of handling ordinary 4-star monsters. With that, he revealed to them a military secret, and they aren't supposed to leak it. He told them about it, and they were all surprised to hear about apocalypse-level monsters. He shared to them that M City lost over 17,000 evolved individuals in a night. The authorities had to use nuclear weapons, and even then, they barely managed to chase away the monster. According to what he heard, there were no monster corpses found in the rubble, and they just wrote in the report that the monster retreated. It was shocking news that after using nuclear bombs, the monster still wasn't killed. Chief Guan shared that 17 apocalypse doors were affected to varying extents. Along with the changes in the waves of space and time, the apocalypse in 10+ days will be far worse than they expected. He told them that it would be difficult for the team to defeat the strengthened monsters. Roya asked how they could get stronger. She wondered if there was special training. Since they don't have the luxury of time, the Special Tasks Bureau had disseminated spiritual crystals. He expected them to know what it meant. Hao got excited since it can awaken a person's latent potential and allow their abilities to grow even faster. The team was selected to use the crystals to get stronger. He told them that everyone had to ascend past 4 stars in the next 10 days for the future of humanity. Zongwen promised not to let everyone down. Meanwhile, Chu was at the seaside checking his status. His physique is at 9,535 and spirit at 1,298. He has the following abilities: Armament Domineering, Sensory Domineering, and Overlord Domineering. His talents are Flying Fists, Slice, Fighting Feet, Moonstep, and the passive ones are Mighty Thunder and Flowing Flame. The weapons are Heavenly Swords and Demon King's Armor. His clone, Ancient Sword Lizard, had evolved thrice already. With the rate of the sword lizards hunting for food in the North Sea's fish farms, Chu expected it to evolve for the 4th time in a few days. After that, he'll only have to worry about Qianqian's evolutionary progress. At that moment, Qianqian was on the verge of tears. She was dreaming of a scary place. The whole area was illuminated with a red glow, and 2 tornadoes were in front of her. The tornado formed into a misty black dragon with red eyes. It opened its mouth. She yelled at it to stay away. She's scared that it might eat her. She suddenly woke up while screaming. She looked exhausted. She didn't notice that Chu was there until he asked how she's feeling. She asked him what he meant. Chu threw a cup at her. She tried to catch it, but it broke on her hand. She was surprised by it. Chu asked her how it feels to have evolved. She was confused. Chu explained that 1 star-evolved individual can hit with 500 kilograms of force and move at 15 meters per second. He congratulated her for evolving. Qianqian noticed that she's stronger. She couldn't believe that she had really evolved. Becoming an evolver has become the dream of countless people around the world. On the black market, a low-grade evolution inducer has become a covered item. Its price has soared to an astonishing over $50 million. However, using such a low-quality inducer comes with tremendous risk. The slightest mistake can turn the user into a terrifying mutated creature. Many ordinary people eager to evolve are forced to be bound in chains. In extreme conditions, family members stand by with guns during artificial evolution procedures. Once the body destabilizes, the resulting death is gruesome beyond words. Even so, countless people willingly take the risk of mutating and stepping onto the path of evolution without hesitation. As doomsday approaches, the era of universal evolution has arrived. At the open sea in Iocho Island, Izanami, along with other godlike creatures, floated above the area. She ordered Ebisu to open a path. Ebisu followed her instruction. He flew downwards and dove into the sea. While underwater, a golden orb of light surrounds him. He went so fast that he looked like a shooting star. Everyone else was able to follow him. They entered a cave where corpses are everywhere. They felt an ominous presence. Bitten rushed towards Izanami's side. She noticed that the beast will unleash a king's aura. She instructed everyone not to look at it in the eyes. Irina expressed that, even if it's in juvenile form, its presence rivals a 9-star magical beast, and it's terrifying. She determined that it was a monarch class. Susanoo asked her if she's certain. She replied that the beast is stronger than the monarch class that attacked their base last month, and she's certain of it. Izanami stated that such magnificent primordial beasts will surely yield a massive amount of essence for their use. She ordered Bitten to use her illusion magic to control it, and the rest were tasked to extract every last drop of its core essence and then destroy the corpse. She told them not to leave any traces. The creature roared loudly. Bitten was surprised. It continuously emits sound waves. Izanami was pleased with the beast's power. She planned to devour it. She planned for darkness to devour all, and chaos shall rule. She gives praises to the darkness, the chaos, the endless void. She stated that the intertwining of light and dark, the cycle of life and death, and everything will be turned to nothingness, and they will become eternal like gods. They continued to praise the darkness, the chaos, and the endless void. The human's pursuit of transcendent power has never stopped. When the flames of destruction tore through the skies, a mushroom cloud bloomed, and a symbol of the end shrouded in death. Then, the raging shockwave swept the earth like a divine ship. Civilization and order were torn to shreds. The world returned to the primordial chaos of creation. 30 days and nights passed, and only then did the dust settle. Once towering mountains were flattened into wastelands, rushing rivers were reduced to dead pools. The survivors were left frozen in horror. A remains of the colossal beast was left. It was the size of a mountain. Its bones glimmered with a strange metallic sheen. Even after destruction, it still held a battle stance, as if silently telling the tale of a lost era. In its crystallized marrow, the humans discovered a mysterious substance that shimmered like stars. When light hit it, the substance pulsed like a living thing, refracting colors beyond the visible spectrum. After 700 days and nights of research, they finally uncovered its secret. It could reconstruct the molecular structure of living beings, allowing carbon-based life to break through the shackles of evolution. The researcher called it the Prometheus flame, the forbidden fruit of wisdom. The Prime Minister raised a culture dish containing the glowing blue materials during a press conference and declared that the substance is called divine origin, and with it, they would call themselves as gods. But fate soon revealed its terrifying face. The first batch of volunteers turned into crystalline statues in the holy blue light. Their final expressions were forever frozen in a blend of agony and ecstasy. Their mortal flesh was like tissue paper trying to contain raging fire. They finally understood that it wasn't that the origin lacked power, but that the human body was made of mere clay, and it was unworthy and incompatible with God's divine gift. But fate has another plan. After the apocalypse descended, monsters began to roam the earth. They were surprised to find survivors who had previously come in contact with the origin's substance, and some humans even discovered they could evolve by absorbing the monster's corruption. Only then they realized that the mythology hadn't abandoned them, but it was accelerating towards them. In that era, they are the inheritors of myth. They continue to evolve, becoming stronger, until, one day, they can reach the realm of gods. Izanami believes they would become gods. They praised the gods. To their surprise, an unfamiliar voice joined them. She asked who was there. Chu showed up, landing on top of our good boy Godzilla. And since these weirdos were praising God, our MC told them, "I am Chen Chu, and you guys should praise me." Izanami immediately instructed Inari to analyze his information. Inari took the fox mask at the side of her head and wore it so she could activate Koju Divine Sight. She watched Chu. Chu saw that she uses a sensory ability similar to observation haki, but he knew it was inferior in power. The mask cracked, and it emits purple smoke. Inari fell to the ground. Izanami still asked for the intel. Inari could barely get up, but she answered that the enemy had a similar insight-based mystic technique, and her divine sight was reflected back. That was shocking news to Izanami. Susanoo approaches Izanami and tells her that it didn't matter what kind of sorcery it was. He was confident that he could crush the enemy with a single punch. He attacked. Chu evaded his punch. Susanoo could sense him behind, but he couldn't avoid the kick. Daikokuten used Reflect. The guy was falling on the spikes on the ground, but he was caught by Daikokuten's ability. Chu noticed that someone had a gravitational manipulation ability. Susanoo was annoyed. He yelled at Daikokuten to stay out of it. Daikokuten lifted him and dropped him on safe ground. Then he told Chu that it was his turn to be pierced. He placed his palms on the ground and made the earth beneath Chu crumble, eventually leading it to an explosion. But to his surprise, even gravity didn't affect Chu. Chu released electricity. It's time for our MC to aura farm for a bit. Inari's jaw dropped when she saw him neutralize the force. Daikokuten felt annoyed that he's surpassing divine power. Susanoo was offended that he's being insulted. He vowed to make Chu pay with his blood. He used his attack called Nura Iron Cannon. Chu evaluated that he's a physical type. He blocked the fist with his hand. Chu didn't budge on his place, but the ground beneath him caved in due to the strong force. Susanoo called him a monster. Chu glared at him, and just by twisting his arm sideways, it broke Susanoo's bone on the arm. Then he threw the guy on the ground. He charges with a powerful fist attack. Susanoo knows he's going to die since he can't block the attack. Daikokuten intervened. He threw Susanoo away. The area became covered in smoke. Chu wreaked havoc. He transformed as he used the red flame's blood explosion. Izanami called the gods of Takamagahara to combine their power and defeat their enemy. The first one to act was Ebisu, and he started forming hands using the ground, and it surrounded Chu. Ebisu grinned. He was confident in his abilities and used Godforge Rock Iron Fettler to attack. Rocks had formed around Chu, and it engulfed him. He was trapped inside an orb of rock. Ebisu stated that rocks fortified by divine power are even sturdier than iron. Even if his abilities are extraordinary, he'll suffocate to death in his stone prison once the air runs out. But Inari saw that Chu was melting the rocks with intense heat. Eventually, Chu punctured a hole in it, and the rest continued to melt. Susanoo had to point out that the stone shell isn't as strong as his natto strings. He questioned Ebisu's ability. Ebisu decided to add another layer since one isn't enough. He used Godforge, Mass Silver Pivot this time. But when he saw that 2 layers weren't enough, he added a third one. He used the Godforge Celestial Golden Palace. He eventually fell to his knees. The triple bind had exhausted his power. Susanoo teased him by saying that he should have just used his strongest ability right away. A man who had red flames uttered that no one can survive Ebisu's Golden Palace, so he concluded that the battle is already over. Susanoo was disappointed with their enemy for getting crushed by Takamagahara Pantheon. Izanami wanted to proceed now that the obstacle had been removed. She instructed them to kill the lizard and seize its origin essence. She saw Inari get spooked, so she asked what she saw in her vision. She stated that the golden trap isn't enough to hold the enemy down. She told them that he can counter metal constructs, so Ebisu's triple seal is ineffective against him. The electricity runs through the golden trap. Then it started cracking. Chu told them that if they want to hunt the giant lizard, they will have to go through him first. Otherwise, he'll trample on their corpses. He blasted the trap away. Ebisu's jaw dropped because he was certain that he had confined him. Unexpectedly, he got struck with the debris of his golden trap. The debris rained down on others too. Chu was ready to kill them one by one and grind their corpses into the dirt. The man with red flame was angry that he killed his comrades. He claimed that anyone who blocks their path will only find death. The guy claimed that his flames are different from Chu's sorcery, that his divine power can create purgatorial karmic flames that burn ceaselessly for 7 days. He mocked Chu by saying that his flames are better suited for brewing tea. He used his spear of netherworld scorch karmic annihilation. He yelled at him to die. Then he released his spear. Chu watched him. Then he sighed. Before the spear reached him, it turned into smoke. The red flame guy was dumbfounded. His powerful attack was reduced to smoke just by Chu blowing some air to it. Susanoo was getting angrier. He told them that he'll attack from below while they charge from above. He requested Daikokuten's gravity support. Izanami was confident that Chu couldn't take on 3 of them at once. Meanwhile, Bitten grits her teeth. Then she asked who else could help them defeat him. Susanoo used Wrathful Raksha Cannon. But Chu just swung his arm, and it buried Susanoo's head on the ground. The red flame guy used his attack called Yomi's Myriad Scorch Annihilation. Fire surrounded Chu. Inari warned them to be careful of the dragon sealing mark. It appeared beneath Daikokuten. Daikokuten was surprised that chains had wrapped around his body. It was effective in restraining him. Inari could tell that it was a sorcery of higher order than Ebisu's seal. Izanami asked Benten what she plans to do. She replied that it's the psychic unit's turn to help. Her face changed. Her eyes glowed in pink, and she doesn't have a pupil. His mouth became wide, and his tongue became longer. She was confident that the enemy won't be able to resist a psychic attack. She unleashed a voice attack called Yomi Kododama. During this time, Chu was choking the red flame guy. Chu noticed her, so he dropped the guy. Then Benten binds his soul and tries to make him listen to her. She urged him to fall. The red flame guy could tell that her attack was effective since Chu wasn't moving anymore. They assumed that he entered a nightmare realm. Chu's consciousness was trapped in darkness. She told him that power in the real world is meaningless there. She placed him in her mental domain where she can crush him easily. Chu's body froze. His physical enhancements are useless, and he couldn't use sorcery either. It was an arena solely for mental power. Chu coughed blood. She mocks, knowing that it's painful. It was because in her domain, the sensation of pain is amplified 100-fold. And the best part is that he won't pass out in there, but he'll become even more lucid. She told him that every single nerve would transmit excruciating pain. Chu replied that since it was a mental domain, the kind of imaginary damage couldn't be fatal. She answered that it is enough to make him wish that he's dead. She was certain that with her power, he would be on his knees begging her to end him. She suggested that his only escape at that moment is suicide. Chu grinned. Then he stated that if he doesn't feel any pain, then her Kododama is just noise. She yelled that it was impossible. She attacked him again and made him bleed. Then she asked if he's really not feeling any pain. He replied that the amount of pain is nothing compared to when he activates his blood burst, wherein his blood was boiling, and he would give that 1,000,000 points. He told her that her imagination was interesting. He told her that her soul would remember one thing, that she was defeated. Her mind shattered, and she kept saying over and over again that she's defeated. Izanami was speechless. Chu ordered her to get up, and she did. Izanami couldn't believe that he actually made her his puppet. She realized that her Kododama backfired on her. Benten suggested getting out of that ominous place. Izanami claims that it's treason since Benten has learned to oppose her. But Chu replied that she could take her back since her aura control will be released in 3 days. Izanami refused to give up just like that. She wants him to pay with his blood. She ordered Benten to die. Tengu slashed her. Chu couldn't believe she had killed her own. Inari asked her why when Benten was one of them. Izanami replied that those who are useless have no right to become gods, and she's a failure unworthy of a gift of a god. She stated her mantra again that they shall become gods. Then she showed him the power of Takamagahara's dance of demise. Chu transformed again as he used the crimson bloodburst. Our boy now looked like he's becoming one with our very own Godzilla. Instantly, Izanami could tell that something wasn't right. His original essence power and the sword lizard behind him were so similar. She inquired about their relationship. In this transformation, Chu had dragon skin on his chest and arms, and 2 horns on his head. His hair grew longer too. He rushed towards them. Izanami was frozen in shock. The wings of the Tengu protected her from Chu's fist. He kept punching, and the Tengu withstood it. When the Tengu released its wings and used Yada no Kagami Shisho Yokarin, Chu was pushed back. Yada no Kagami Shisho Yokarin is a Japanese skill name referencing a sacred mirror symbolizing truth, part of Japan's imperial regalia, and evokes divine light and overwhelming power. Chu landed on the ground. His body was affected by the vapor, and cracks had formed in his body. Izanami told him that the Yata no Kagami Shisho Yokarin is capable of piercing a demonic beast's defenses. It was like a strong microwave destroying his body from the inside. Chu kept coughing. He raised his sword and exuded electricity. Then he scratched it on the surface. He formed a barrier in front of him while the enemy created several small suns placed in a circular form. Meanwhile, one of them dove on the ground and appeared behind Chu. He used Shadow Eater to do that. Then he pierced Chu from behind, but he was left surprised. Chu had his Imperial Demon armor on. Chu yelled at him to scram and attacked him using his fire. The man replied that his efforts are useless, since where there is light, there's shadow, and as long as shadows remain, Tsukuyomi remains immortal. Tsukuyomi used Kage's Oborozuki Giri attack. He came out from the shadows, then attacked Chu again. Vapor came out from where Chu was hit. Tsukuyomi acknowledges his incredible defensive power. Chu was focused on him, but the Tengu charges towards him and attacked him using its wings. It made a crack on his armor. Izanami stated that the Tengu's attacks can shatter an enemy's defenses. Even the strongest shield would be destroyed in a single blow. Our boy was speechless. Then he acknowledges their attempts. He threw his sword towards the Tengu. Tengu barely evades it, while Tsukuyomi attacks him using a sword. He blocks it using his sword. Tsukuyomi tried to bind him using Shadow Stitch. Chu slashed him and made him bleed while calling him trash. Since he knew that he can't be killed as long as shadows exist, he decided to vaporize the shadows along with him. He let out a super bright attack. That left Tsukuyomi with burns. He charges towards him again and pierced Tsukuyomi at the center of his chest. Tsukuyomi died. Then Chu challenges the others to step forward if they want to end up like that too. The woman called out to his little brother, Tsukuyomi. As she rushed towards his side, Tengu blocked her path. Then he shook his head. She could only cry and watch her little brother from a distance. Izanami asked everyone why they're just standing around. She told them to attack all at once. Inari trembled from fear. The red flame guy hesitated to attack too. The older sister of Tsukuyomi was angry. She questioned Izanami if the sacrifice was necessary. She fell on her knees as she stated that she let all her little brothers die just to get the origin essence. Izanami told her that they are all god candidates. She ordered her to kill the fiend, and they will get enough origin essence to become even stronger. She replied that she didn't want to get stronger. All she wanted was to be a normal, nice big sister. Izanami grabbed her by the neck and called her a coward. She told her that she betrayed their oath, and that's a capital offense. She reminded her that they are inheritors of the myth, and they constantly evolve, growing stronger until one day they can touch the divine domain. She cursed at Izanami. So Izanami ordered Tengu to kill her since her heart is wavering, which makes her unworthy of a divine vessel. Tengu looked away. The others wouldn't even meet her gaze too. Chu told them that he had no intention of fighting them to death. If they renounced their hostility, he would let them leave. But Izanami will never surrender. When she unleashed her powers, her hair turned into white snake, and she became a giant. One of her snakes devoured the sister of Tsukuyomi. She claims that every drop of origin essence will be her nourishment. The snake swallowed the whole body, and she felt her power getting stronger. She devoured the others too. The snake swallowed them whole. Inari realized that she's fusing with the abilities of their Yaki Kong. It meant that she only saw them that way. Inari confirmed that by saying that they are nothing but vessels for cultivating origin essence, and that she's the only one worthy of becoming a god. Chu didn't expect that plot twist. Susanoo replied that even though he hates Chu, it was their private matter, so he should leave if he doesn't want to die first. He lifted a boulder, and he threw it at Izanami. He claims that the fight is for their survival. When the boulder hits her barrier, it shattered into pieces. Izanami called him another dog that betrayed its master. Daiko Kuten made the debris around her floats. He told her that they are orphans, test subjects, and survivors of disasters. When they were young, they received a crystal. Izanami told them that by becoming gods, they could escape the suffering of mortals. When the crystals entered their body, a lot of the children fell. She named the ones who were still standing as Yaki Kong. Daikokuten expressed that they gathered there for one reason, to live on. The heads of the snakes glowed in different colors. Then she exudes bright light. While Daikokuten struggles to see her, her shadow went behind him and told him that she already obtained the powers of light and dark, so he wasn't qualified to defy her. This bitch really had no intention to stop. She used one of her newly absorbed abilities and binded Daikokuten using her shadow powers, but Daikokuten refused to submit to her. but he was engulfed by the shadow. Izanami smirked. The black snake hissed, while Izanami laughed out loud as she crushed Daikokuten into pieces. Now, she had also absorbed his gravity manipulation. And with that, Izanami made the others float in the air. First was Susanoo, then the red flame guy and Inari, and then she gathered and pulled them to her to surrender their powers. But then, Chu grabbed Inari's leg so she won't be sucked in. She asked why. The red flame guy was determined to fight to death. Susanoo resisted too, but Izanami just smirked. Then her snakes chased them. Susanoo's lower body was eaten in a blink of an eye. The red flame guy yelled that he'd take her down with him. The snake breathed fire. Its body expanded. Then it exploded. The red flame guy had chosen to self-destruct rather than let her devour him. But then, the snake took the red crystal that he left behind. Izanami told him that he's too naive, because his body is merely a vessel for the origin essence, and even if he kills himself, the origin essence within him won't dissipate. The snake swallowed the crystal. Then it became a flaming snake. Izanami's snake had different colors and appearance based on the origin essence that they had devoured. She already devoured 7. Now her attention was to Inari. She felt cornered because even if she killed herself, it's useless. Tengu was ready to fight back too. Only 2 of them are left. Tengu made hand gestures and disappeared. She realized that he ran away. She acknowledged that it was a clever, cowardly, and realistic choice. Meanwhile, Inari begs Chu to destroy the origin crystal inside her. She begged him to kill her and destroy it since she doesn't want to become a part of Izanami's power. She knew that he's the only one who could do it. Chu was silent. Learning that Inari wanted to use the power of Fiend to destroy the origin essence, Izanami called her a traitor. She told Chu to do it quickly. Otherwise, it will be too late. Izanami was amused that she wants to die. She told her that she will devour the origin essences of the Fiend and the Lizard too, for her to ascend to godhood. Chu took Inari's blade and told her that she doesn't have to die. Izanami told them that they will become sacrifices to the new god. Chu coursed electricity through the dagger, and he threw it at her. Chu previously planned not to get involved in their mess, but she dragged him and his lizard into it, so he changed his mind. Izanami got hit on the forehead, but she just casually pulled out the dagger. She told him that it wasn't enough to kill her. Chu charges in and punched the shit out of her while telling her to die.
Thank you all for watching. Please watch this next Giga Chad video, and I'll see you guys next time. Also, support the channel by joining the Summon Club membership. You can also support by just liking the video and being awesome.